They say revenge is a dish best served cold. But what happens when a woman transforms her betrayal into an empire and returns not for closure, but for complete annihilation? Tonight, I'm taking you inside the most ruthless comeback story you've ever heard. A woman discarded. A mafia king who sees potential where others see ruin. And a husband who's about to learn that some ghosts don't just haunt, they destroy everything. Stick with me until the end, hit that like button, and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. The rain came down like nails on glass. Valeria Knox stood in the center of the penthouse, bare feet on cold marble, staring at the envelope in her hands. Her fingers, steady despite everything, traced the law firm's embossed logo. Hartman and Associates, the kind of lawyers who handled divorces for people with too much money and too little shame. She didn't open it right away. Didn't need to. She already knew what was inside. Behind her, Madrid stretched out through floor-to-ceiling windows, a city of light and shadow, indifferent to the small deaths happening in its expensive apartments. Thunder rolled somewhere distant. The penthouse smelled like leather and his cologne, the kind that costs more than most people's rent. Everything here was designed to impress, to intimidate, to remind you exactly who held the power. She'd lived here for 3 years. Felt like 3 lifetimes. Valeria finally tore open the envelope. The paper slid out, crisp and formal. Petition for dissolution of marriage. Her name typed in neat black letters. His signature already there at the bottom, confident and sprawling. Adrian Wolfe. The man she'd married in a cathedral full of white roses and empty promises. The man who'd just replaced her. Her hands didn't shake. That surprised her. She'd expected tears, rage, the kind of theatrical breakdown that seemed appropriate for this moment. But there was nothing. Just a strange, hollow quiet inside her chest, like someone had scooped out everything vital and left only the mechanics. Heart still beating, lungs still working, but the parts that made her her, those felt absent. She walked to the window. The rain streaked down in rivers, distorting the city below. Somewhere out there, Adrian was probably celebrating, popping champagne with his business partners. Or maybe he was with her, the replacement, the upgrade, the woman who'd been warming his bed for the last 6 months while Valeria played the role of the oblivious wife. Natalia Serrano, 26, former model, current opportunist. Valeria had found out 3 days ago. Not through whispers or suspicious texts. No, Adrian wasn't even careful enough for that. She'd found out because Natalia had posted a photo on social media. Just a glimpse of a room in the background, expensive art on the walls, a view Valeria recognized immediately. This penthouse, her home. Posted at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday when Adrian had told her he was in Barcelona for business. The comments beneath the photo were a battlefield. People who knew, people who pretended not to, people enjoying the spectacle of someone else's humiliation. Valeria had said nothing, done nothing, just watched the pieces fall into place, the lies rearranging themselves into an ugly truth she could no longer ignore. And now this. Divorce papers, delivered while he was out because Adrian Wolfe didn't have the spine to face her himself. She should have seen it coming. All the signs were there, the late nights, the business trips that multiplied, the way he'd stopped touching her like she mattered and started touching her like she was an obligation. But she'd wanted to believe. God, she'd wanted to believe that the man who'd promised her forever actually meant it. Stupid. The word echoed in her head, bitter and sharp. She'd been stupid, naive, the kind of woman who confused charm for character, who mistook intensity for love. Adrian had swept her up in a whirlwind, the private jets, the galas, the whispered promises against her skin in 5-star hotel rooms. He'd made her feel chosen, special, like she was the only woman in the world who could stand beside him. Turns out she was just the first in a line. Valeria set the papers down on the glass coffee table. Her wedding ring caught the light, a 3-carat diamond that had felt like a promise and now felt like a shackle. She twisted it off her finger slowly, feeling the ridge of pale skin beneath where it had lived for 3 years. The ring clicked against the table when she dropped it. No ceremony, no grand gesture. Just done. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen. A text from her mother. "Are you all right, mija? I heard rumors." Rumors. Of course there were rumors. Madrid's elite lived on gossip the way normal people lived on air. By now, everyone knew. Everyone had probably known before she did. They'd watched her at charity events, smiled to her face, and pitied her behind her back. Poor Valeria. So beautiful, so poised, so completely blind to what her husband was doing. She didn't reply, couldn't find the words. Instead, she walked to the bedroom, their bedroom, though it had stopped feeling like theirs months ago, and pulled out a suitcase. Black leather. Expensive. A gift from Adrian after their honeymoon in Santorini, back when he still pretended to care about things like gifts and gestures. She started packing. Not everything, just enough. Clothes folded with mechanical precision, toiletries. Her passport. The few pieces of jewelry that had belonged to her grandmother, the only things in this apartment that actually mattered. As she worked, her mind ran through the logistics. She had some money, her own money, from before the marriage. Not much, but enough to disappear for a while. Enough to figure out what came next. She'd find a lawyer, sign whatever needed signing, walk away clean. No fight, no scandal, no desperate attempt to win him back. Just gone. The thought should have brought relief. Instead, it felt like falling. A key turned in the lock. Valeria froze halfway through folding a sweater. The door opened. Footsteps in the hallway, confident, familiar. Adrian. Of course he'd come back now. Of course he'd want to see her face when she read the papers. Men like Adrian didn't just want to win, they wanted to watch you lose. She didn't turn around, just kept packing, hands steady, breath even. Valeria. His voice was the same as always, deep, controlled. The voice of a man who'd never been told no in his life. I see you got the papers, he said. She folded the sweater, placed it in the suitcase, reached for another. Valeria, look at me. Why? Her voice came out flat. No emotion, no inflection, just sound. He moved closer. She could feel him behind her now, could smell that damn cologne. Once that scent had made her pulse quicken. Now it just made her tired. This doesn't have to be difficult, Adrian said. I've been more than generous. The settlement, I don't care about the settlement. Silence. She could practically hear him recalibrating, trying to figure out which version of Valeria he was dealing with. The obedient wife. The emotional one. The one who'd beg him to reconsider? He didn't realize he was dealing with someone new. Someone who'd been born in the 3 days between discovering his betrayal and this moment. Then what do you want? He asked, and there was an edge to his voice now. Impatience. He'd expected tears, drama, a scene he could control. Valeria finally turned to face him. Adrian Wolfe was beautiful in the way expensive things were beautiful, polished and cold, and meant to be looked at from a distance. Tall, dark-haired, with features that belonged on magazine covers. He wore a suit that cost more than a car, tailored to perfection. Everything about him screamed power, control, success. Everything about him was a lie. I want, she said slowly, for you to get out of my way so I can pack. His jaw tightened. This is my apartment. Then I'll pack faster. Valeria, What, Adrian? She took a step toward him. What exactly do you want from me right now? Tears? Begging? An emotional breakdown you can feel superior about? I want you to be reasonable. I am being reasonable. You want a divorce. I'm giving you one. No lawyers fighting over prenups, no leaked stories to the press. Just 2 signatures and we're done. He studied her face, searching for cracks. You're taking this better than I expected. What did you expect? I don't know. He shrugged, and the casualness of it, the sheer indifference, made something sharp twist in her chest. Resistance, maybe. You're not exactly known for letting go easily. Maybe you don't know me as well as you think. Maybe I don't. He moved to the window, hands in his pockets, the picture of ease. For what it's worth, this isn't personal. The laugh that escaped her was sharp and humorless. Not personal? You're divorcing me for another woman and it's not personal? It's business, Valeria. It's always been business. He turned to face her. Natalia understands the world I operate in. She's connected. Her father owns half the commercial real estate in Barcelona. Marrying her opens doors that... Stop. Valeria held up a hand. Please stop talking. I'm trying to explain. I don't need your explanations. I don't need anything from you. She zipped the suitcase closed with more force than necessary. Sign the papers. I'll sign the papers. We'll both move on with our lives. Adrian watched her for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, he smiled. You know what? I underestimated you. I thought you'd fall apart, but you're tougher than I gave you credit for. Don't, her voice was ice. Don't you dare try to compliment me right now. I'm serious. You're handling this with grace. That's admirable. I'm handling this, she said quietly, because I have no other choice. Because the man I married, the man I thought I married, doesn't exist. He never did. And I'm not going to waste another second mourning someone who was never real. Something flickered across Adrian's face. Surprise, maybe, or discomfort. But it was gone quickly, replaced by that smooth, untouchable mask he wore so well. Then we're in agreement, he said. My lawyer will send over the finalized papers tomorrow. Sign them, and you'll receive the settlement within a week. It's fair, more than fair. I don't want your money. Now he looked genuinely confused. Everyone wants money, Valeria. Not everyone is you. She grabbed her suitcase, hoisted her bag over her shoulder, walked past him without looking back. Every step felt like shedding skin. The penthouse, the marriage, the life she'd built here, all of it falling away with each footfall. Where will you go? Adrian called after her. She stopped at the door, didn't turn around. Anywhere that isn't here. Valeria, goodbye, Adrian. She walked out. The elevator descended in silence, 50 floors dropping away beneath her feet. Her reflection stared back from the mirrored walls. A woman who looked calm, composed, completely in control. A woman who didn't match the wreckage inside. But she'd learned something in the last 3 days, something vital. You don't have to feel strong to act strong. You just have to move. The lobby was empty except for the night security guard, who nodded as she passed. Outside, the rain had softened to a drizzle. The city stretched before her, vast and indifferent and full of possibilities she couldn't yet name. Valeria Knox had no plan, no destination, no idea what came next. But she was free. And freedom, she was learning, was just another word for terrifying. 3 years passed like smoke. Valeria disappeared completely. No social media, no public appearances, no trail for the gossip mills to follow. She became a ghost story. The woman who'd walked away from Adrian Wolfe without a fight, without a scandal, without even a whisper of bitterness. Some said she'd moved to London. Others claimed they'd seen her in New York. A few swore she'd had a breakdown and checked into a Swiss clinic. The truth was simpler and stranger. She'd gone to ground. For 6 months, she lived in a small apartment in Valencia, working as a translator for a boutique consulting firm. Nothing glamorous. Nothing that would attract attention. Just work that kept her hands busy and her mind occupied while she figured out who she was without Adrian Wolfe's last name. The divorce had been finalized within weeks. Adrian had been true to his word, generous with the settlement, eager to move on. He'd married Natalia 4 months later in a ceremony that made the covers of 3 magazines. Perfect couple, perfect life, perfect lie. Valeria had watched it all from a distance, feeling nothing. That numbness, the hollow quiet that had filled her chest the night she'd left, never quite went away. It settled in like furniture, became part of the landscape of her new life. She functioned, worked, ate, slept, moved through days with mechanical efficiency. But she didn't feel. Not until she met Kale Draven. It happened on an October evening in Barcelona. She'd taken a job consulting for a tech startup, something to keep her skills sharp while she rebuilt. The client meeting had run late, and she'd decided to walk back to her hotel rather than deal with taxis. Bad decision. She'd cut through an alley, stupid, reckless, the kind of thing the old Valeria would never have done. But the old Valeria was dead, and this new version didn't care much about safety. 3 men stepped out of the shadows. She didn't run, didn't scream, just stopped, sized them up, calculated odds that weren't in her favor. Wallet and phone, the tallest one said in Spanish. Don't make this difficult. Valeria almost laughed. Difficult. As if anything in her life had been easy for the last year. No, she said simply. The men exchanged glances, not the response they'd expected. Listen, lady. I said no. The tallest one moved forward. Valeria's hand went to her bag, not for her wallet, but for the small canister of pepper spray she'd started carrying. But before she could reach it, a voice cut through the alley. I think the lady was clear. All four of them turned. A man stood at the alley's entrance, tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in black that made him nearly invisible against the night. But it wasn't his size that made the three muggers freeze. It was his presence. He radiated danger the way other people radiated warmth. Not aggressive, not theatrical, just inevitable. Like a storm you could feel in your bones before the first drop of rain fell. The tallest mugger took one look at him and ran. The other two followed without a word. Silence settled over the alley. The stranger walked toward her, his footsteps echoing off brick walls. As he came into the light, Valeria got her first clear look at him. Late 30s, maybe 40. Dark hair touched with silver at the temples. Strong features, but weathered. The kind of face that had seen things and chosen not to forget them. His eyes were the color of winter storms, gray and unreadable. You should be more careful, he said. His Spanish was perfect, but carried an accent she couldn't place. These streets aren't safe after dark. I'm aware. Are you? He tilted his head slightly, studying her. You didn't look afraid. I'm not. Everyone's afraid of something. Maybe I've already lost everything worth being afraid of losing. Something shifted in his expression. Understanding, maybe, or recognition. Kale Draven, he said, extending a hand. She took it. His grip was firm, warm despite the cool air. Valeria Knox. Not Wolf anymore? Her stomach dropped. You know who I am? I know who you were. He released her hand. And I know what you walked away from. Then you know more than I do. He smiled at that. It was a strange smile, not warm exactly, but genuine. I doubt that very much, Miss Knox. It's just Valeria. Valeria, then. He gestured toward the street. Can I offer you a ride somewhere? Someplace better lit than this alley? Every instinct told her to say no, to walk away, to maintain the careful distance she'd built between herself and everyone in her new life. But something about him, the steady way he looked at her, like he saw past the careful facade to the wreckage beneath, made her hesitate. Why? She asked. Why what? Why help me? Why offer me a ride? You don't know me. I know enough. He paused. I know what it looks like when someone's running from their past. And I know that most people who run are running from the wrong thing. And what should they be running from? Themselves. He met her eyes. But you're not running anymore, are you? The question landed like a blow. Because he was right. She'd stopped running months ago. She'd just been existing. Moving through days without direction or purpose. Surviving without living. I don't even know where I'm going, she admitted. Then let me take you somewhere interesting. Against every reasonable instinct, she nodded. The car was a black Mercedes, expensive but understated. The driver, a silent man built like a wall, held the door open. Valeria slid into leather seats that smelled like money and secrets. Kale settled beside her. Where are you staying? The Catalonia Plaza. Business or pleasure? Business, consulting work. Ah. He said something in a language she didn't recognize to the driver, who pulled smoothly into traffic. You're wasted on consulting. Excuse me? Your talents. Turned to face her fully. You speak 5 languages fluently. You have a degree in international finance from Cambridge. You spent 3 years navigating Madrid's business elite without making a single enemy. An impressive feat, given how many people hated your husband. And you walked away from a divorce settlement worth 8 million euros without looking back. He paused. Yes, I did my homework. The question is, why are you translating tech documents in Barcelona when you could be running companies in Madrid? Valeria's heart hammered. How do you know all that? I make it my business to know things, especially about people who interest me. And I interest you? Enormously. No flirtation in his voice, just fact. You did something most people never do. You chose yourself over security, over reputation, over everything you'd built. That takes a particular kind of strength. Or stupidity. No. His voice was firm. Stupidity would have been staying, fighting for a man who didn't deserve you, making a spectacle of your pain for a city that would have fed on it like carrion, You did the opposite. You disappeared, reinvented yourself, started over from nothing. The car slowed to a stop, but they weren't at her hotel. They were in front of a sleek building she didn't recognize, all glass and steel, modern and expensive. "This isn't the plaza," she said. "No, it's my office. I thought we could talk." "About what?" "About what you're going to do with the rest of your life." She should have said no, should have demanded he take her to her hotel, should have recognized the danger in accepting invitations from strange men, no matter how compelling they seemed. But Valeria was tired of being careful, tired of the numbness, tired of moving through days like a ghost. "5 minutes," she said. Kyle smiled. "That's all I need." The office was on the top floor. Minimal furniture. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Barcelona's skyline. Art on the walls. Real pieces. Not the decorative corporate garbage that usually filled spaces like this. "Drink?" Kyle asked, moving to a bar cart in the corner. "Whiskey. Neat." He poured 2 glasses, handed her one. Their fingers brushed. She felt the contact like electricity. "You're wondering who I am," he said, settling into a chair across from her. "What I do. Why I know so much about you." The thought crossed my mind. "I run a network of businesses throughout Europe. Import-export. Real estate. Investments. Some of it legal. Some of it—" He shrugged. "Less so." "You're telling me you're a criminal?" "I'm telling you I operate outside the systems that failed people like you. The courts. The laws. The social contracts that promise justice and deliver disappointment." He sipped his whiskey. "Adrian Wolf faced no consequences for what he did to you. He moved on, upgraded, profited from your pain. And you? You got a settlement and a fresh start, but not justice. Justice is a fairy tale. Maybe, or maybe you've just been looking for it in the wrong places." Valeria's pulse quickened. "What are you offering?" "A choice." Kale leaned forward. "You can go back to your hotel, finish your consulting contract, build a nice, safe, forgettable life doing work that bores you. Or you can work for me." She laughed. Couldn't help it. "You want to hire me? I want to invest in you. Your skills, your intelligence, your understanding of how power works in circles most people never access." His eyes held hers. "You were wasted on Adrian Wolf. You're wasted on consulting, but working with me? You'd be dangerous." "I don't want to be dangerous." "Liar." The word hung between them, because he was right. God help her, he was right. She'd spent the last year pretending she was fine with being ordinary, with fading into background noise. But the truth, the ugly, visceral truth, was that she wanted to matter again, wanted to be seen, wanted to make the people who'd pitied her realize they'd underestimated her completely. She wanted Adrian to know he'd made a mistake. "What kind of work?" she asked quietly. "The kind that requires intelligence over muscle, strategy over force. You'd be my eyes and ears in places I can't access. Business negotiations, social events, anywhere that requires the kind of polish you were born with." He paused. "And in exchange, I'd give you what you really want. Which is power." The word was simple, final. Real power. Not the borrowed kind you had as Adrian's wife, but your own, built by you, controlled by you, the kind no one can take away. Valeria's hands trembled slightly. She set down her glass before he could see. "This is insane," she said. "Probably. I don't know you." "Not yet." "I could say no." "You could." Kale stood, walked to the window. "But you won't, because you're drowning in that safe, small life you've built, and I'm offering you air." He was right. She hated that he was right. But she also hated the person she'd become. The ghost. The shadow. The woman who'd let Adrian Wolf take everything and then thanked him for the settlement. She stood, walked to where he stood by the window. Barcelona glittered below them, a city of possibility and danger in equal measure. "If I do this," she said slowly, "I'm not doing it for revenge. Of course not. I'm doing it because I'm tired of being invisible. I understand. And if I decide it's not for me, you walk away. No consequences, no obligations." He turned to face her. "I'm not Adrian, Valeria. I don't trap people. I offer opportunities. What you do with them is your choice. She believed him. Couldn't explain why, but she did. When do I start? Kale's smile was slow and dangerous. Already started. The transformation took time. Kale didn't rush her into his world, didn't throw her into situations she wasn't ready for. Instead, he taught her, trained her, showed her how power actually worked, not through speeches or force, but through information, leverage, and the careful application of both. She learned to read people the way she'd once read balance sheets, learned to spot lies in body language, to hear what wasn't being said, to understand the architecture of fear and desire that motivated every human decision. It was intoxicating. For the first time since leaving Adrian, Valeria felt alive. The numbness receded, replaced by sharp, crystalline focus. Every day brought new challenges, new puzzles to solve, new people to understand and, when necessary, to outmaneuver. And Kale was unlike anyone she'd ever known. He was patient, demanding. He expected excellence, but never perfection. When she failed, and she did, repeatedly, he didn't criticize. He analyzed, helped her understand what went wrong and how to improve. He treated her like an equal, even when she clearly wasn't. Yet, 6 months into working for him, Valeria realized she'd become someone new. Not the woman who'd married Adrian, not the ghost who'd fled Madrid, someone sharper, harder, more capable, someone dangerous. They were in Prague when it happened, a business meeting with potential partners, men who thought they were negotiating with Kale but were actually being assessed by Valeria. She'd identified 3 weak points in their operation within 20 minutes, spotted the internal power struggle within 30, and by the end of the dinner had quietly suggested to Kale that they walk away. He'd listened. They'd walked. 2 weeks later, the company collapsed from the internal conflict she'd spotted. Kale's competitors who'd partnered with them lost millions. That night, back in Barcelona, Kale had poured them both drinks and studied her across his desk. "You saved me a lot of money today," he said. "Just doing my job." "It's more than that." He paused. "You see things others miss, not just in business, in people. You understand how they work, what drives them, what breaks them." "Adrian taught me that." "No. Adrian showed you what not to trust. You taught yourself the rest." Valeria sipped her drink, feeling the warmth spread through her chest. "Why me, Kale? You could hire anyone, people with experience in this world. Why invest so much time in me?" He was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was softer than she'd ever heard it. "Because you remind me of someone I used to be, before I learned that surviving meant becoming someone else." He met her eyes. "And because I think you're destined for something bigger than working for me." "I don't understand." "You will." He stood, walked around the desk. "Valeria, I'm taking you to an event next week, the Castellanos Gala in Madrid." Her blood went cold. "Madrid?" "Yes." "Kale, I can't." "You can, and you will." His voice was gentle but firm. "It's time." "For what?" "For Adrian Wolf to see what he lost." Shag. The Castellanos Gala was the most exclusive event in Madrid's social calendar, invitation only. The city's elite gathered once a year to see and be seen, to broker deals and whispered conversations, to remind each other of the careful hierarchies that governed their world. Valeria had attended twice when she was married to Adrian, hated every minute. Now, stepping out of Kyle's car in a dress that cost more than her first month's consulting salary, she felt different. The nervousness was still there. She wasn't inhuman, but it was manageable, controlled. She looked different too. Her hair was darker now, styled in a sleek cut that framed her face. The dress was black, elegant, understated in a way that somehow made her more noticeable. And on her arm, Kale Draven, a man whose reputation preceded him even in circles this elevated. The whispers started the moment they entered. "Is that? No, it can't be. But it looks like Valeria Knox? I thought she'd left the city. Who's that with her?" Valeria kept her spine straight, her expression neutral. Let them look, let them wonder. Kale's hand rested lightly on the small of her back. Not possessive, supportive. "Breathe," he murmured. You own this room. Did she? Hard to tell. But she'd fake it until it became true. They moved through the crowd, Kale introducing her to people she didn't recognize. Business associates. Politicians. The kind of power players who operated behind the scenes. Each conversation was brief, polished, unmemorable. Until she saw him. Adrian Wolfe stood across the ballroom, champagne in hand, laughing at something a man in an expensive suit had said. He looked exactly the same. Beautiful, polished, untouchable. Natalia clung to his arm like jewelry, all white teeth and designer dress. They looked happy. Perfect. It made her stomach turn. There he is, Kale said quietly. Your ghost. He's not my ghost. Then what is he? Valeria didn't answer, couldn't find the words. Adrian's gaze swept the room and landed on her. For one perfect second, his entire face went blank. Shock. Disbelief. Then something else. Something that looked almost like fear. Good. He said something to Natalia, who turned to look. Her smile faltered. Even from this distance, Valeria could see the calculations running behind her eyes. Who is she? Why does Adrian look like that? Should I be worried? Adrian started walking toward them. Valeria's heart rate spiked. Every instinct screamed to run, to hide, to disappear the way she had 3 years ago. But Kale's hand was steady on her back, anchoring her. Ready? He asked. No. Good. Neither is he. Adrian approached with Natalia in tow. Up close, Valeria could see the cracks in his perfect facade, the tightness around his eyes, the way his jaw clenched just slightly. Valeria. Her name in his mouth sounded wrong. I didn't expect to see you here. Madrid's my city too, Adrian. Of course, He trailed off, clearly struggling for composure. You look well. I am well. His eyes shifted to Kale, and something cold slid across his face. Recognition. Kale Draven. I've heard about you. Nothing good, I hope. Kale's smile was sharp. You have quite the reputation. So do you. The tension ratcheted up several degrees. Natalia looked between them, clearly out of her depth. How do you two know each other? Adrian asked, and there was an edge to his voice Valeria recognized. Jealousy. Anger. The toxic cocktail that used to terrify her. Now it just felt pathetic. We're colleagues, Valeria said smoothly. Kale's been mentoring me. Mentoring. Adrian's tone made the word sound dirty. Is that a problem? I'm just surprised. I didn't think you'd be interested in, he gestured vaguely at Kale, this kind of work. There's a lot you didn't know about me, Adrian. That was part of the problem. Natalia finally spoke up, her voice bright and false. Well, it's lovely to see you, Valeria. We should all get together sometime. Maybe dinner? The offer was so absurd that Valeria almost laughed. I don't think so, she said politely. But thank you. Right. Of course. Natalia looked at Adrian, clearly wanting to escape, but Adrian wasn't done. You've changed, he said, studying Valeria like a puzzle he couldn't solve. People do. Not this much. Maybe you just never knew me well enough to notice. Something flickered in his eyes, doubt, maybe, or the beginning of understanding that he'd miscalculated badly. Kale's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then at Valeria. We should go. The car's waiting. So soon? Adrian asked, and there was something desperate in his voice now. We just started talking. We finished talking 3 years ago, Adrian. Valeria's voice was cool. This was just catching up, and now we're caught up. She turned to leave. Kale followed. Valeria. She stopped but didn't turn around. Adrian's voice cracked slightly. It's good to see you. No, she said softly. It's really not. Then she walked away. And Adrian Wolfe, for the first time in his life, stood in a ballroom full of people and felt completely, utterly alone. Outside, the cool night air hit Valeria like a slap. Her hands were shaking now, adrenaline flooding her system. You did well, Kale said. I feel like I'm going to throw up. That's normal. First confrontation usually is. She leaned against the car, trying to steady her breathing. Did you see his face? I did. Good. She looked up at the sky. I wanted him to see me, to know I didn't fall apart, that I'm not the broken woman he probably imagined. You're not broken, Valeria. You never were. Then what am I? Kale was quiet for a moment, then, dangerous. I told you that months ago. Tonight proved it. How? Because you scared him. He opened the car door. And fear, properly applied, is the most powerful weapon there is. Valeria slid into the leather seats, her mind racing. Adrian's face, the shock, the recognition that she'd become someone he didn't recognize. It should have felt like victory. Instead, it felt like the beginning of something much bigger, something she couldn't quite name yet. But as the car pulled away from the gala, from Adrian, from the ghosts of her past, Valeria Knox realized something fundamental had shifted. She was no longer running from her old life. She was preparing to destroy it. And standing beside Kale Draven, a man who understood power in ways Adrian never could, she finally had the tools to do it. The city lights blurred past the window. Madrid, the city where she'd been broken. Soon, it would be the city where Adrian Wolfe learned what it meant to truly lose. The war hadn't started tonight, but tonight, Adrian had finally realized he was in one, and he was already losing. The car ride back to Kale's building was silent, except for the hum of tires on wet pavement. Rain had started again, light and persistent, turning Madrid's streets into mirrors of neon and shadow. Valeria watched the city blur past, her reflection ghosting across the window. A woman who looked calm, collected, in control. Inside, her chest felt like a war zone. Kale didn't speak. Didn't need to. He understood that some moments required silence, that words would only cheapen what had just happened. So he sat beside her, close enough that she could feel his presence but distant enough to give her space to process. When they reached his office building, he finally broke the quiet. "Come up," he said. Not a command, an invitation. "I should get back to my hotel." "You should, but you won't sleep. And sitting alone in a hotel room replaying that conversation won't help." He met her eyes. "Come up. We'll debrief. Figure out next steps." Next steps for what? For whatever you decide you want to do with what just happened. Valeria knew she should refuse, should put distance between herself and this moment, between herself and Kale, between herself and the dangerous current pulling her towards something she didn't fully understand yet. But he was right. She wouldn't sleep, and being alone sounded unbearable. "One drink," she said. "One drink." The office was dark when they entered, just the ambient glow of the city filtering through floor-to-ceiling windows. Kale didn't turn on the lights, just moved to the bar cart with the ease of someone who knew this space in the dark better than most people knew their homes in daylight. He poured whiskey, handed her a glass. Their fingers brushed again, that same electric contact that happened every time they touched. Valeria walked to the windows. Below, Madrid pulsed with life, cars threading through streets, lights in apartment windows, the eternal motion of a city that never quite slept. Somewhere down there, Adrian was probably still at the gala, still playing the role of the untouchable power broker, still believing his world was secure. He had no idea what was coming. Neither did she, if she was honest. "Talk to me," Kale said from behind her. "About what?" "About what you're feeling right now." Valeria laughed, sharp and bitter. "I don't know what I'm feeling. Angry, satisfied, terrified, all of it at once? That's normal." "Nothing about this is normal, Kale." She turned to face him. 3 years ago, I couldn't even look at his face without falling apart. Tonight I stood 5 feet away from him and felt nothing. Or not nothing. Something worse than nothing. Something cold. Clarity. Is that what you call it? Yes. He moved closer, not crowding her, but closing the distance enough that she could see his face clearly in the dim light. "For 3 years you've been running from the pain he caused. Tonight, you faced it, faced him, and you didn't break. That's not cold, Valeria. That's power." "It doesn't feel like power. It feels like—" She stopped, searching for words. "Like I'm becoming someone I don't recognize." "Good." "Good?" The woman Adrian married was soft, trusting. She believed in love and loyalty and all the pretty lies people tell themselves about how the world works. Kale's voice was quiet but intense. That woman would have been destroyed by what he did. But you let it forge you into something harder, something that can't be broken the same way twice. And if I don't want to be hard, then you go back to consulting. Build that safe, forgettable life. Find some nice man who'll treat you well and give you the stability you think you want. He paused. But you won't. Because you've tasted what it feels like to have real power. And now you can't unknow it. Valeria's hands tightened on her glass. You're very sure of yourself. I'm sure of you. You barely know me. I know the parts that matter. He set down his drink, moved to stand directly in front of her. I know you're brilliant, ruthless when you need to be, capable of holding a dozen chess moves in your head while pretending you're just having a conversation. I know you see through people's masks better than anyone I've ever met. And I know, his voice dropped, I know you want to make Adrian Wolf regret ever touching you. The truth of it hit her like a fist. Because he was right. God help her, he was absolutely right. She didn't just want Adrian to see that she'd survived. She wanted him to suffer. Wanted to watch his perfect world crack apart the way hers had. Wanted him to feel powerless and small and completely fucking destroyed. The violence of the thought should have scared her. It didn't. What do you want from me, Kale? Her voice came out rough. Really? Not the speech about potential and power. What do you actually want? He held her gaze for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was completely honest. I want to give you the tools to destroy him. And then I want to watch you do it. Why? Because men like Adrian Wolf have been getting away with destroying people for too long. Because the systems that should hold them accountable, the courts, the media, public opinion, are all rigged in their favor. He paused. And because I believe in a different kind of justice. The kind that doesn't wait for permission. Valeria's pulse hammered in her throat. You're asking me to wage war. I'm offering you the option. What you do with it is your choice. She should walk away. Should recognize this for what it was. A dangerous man offering dangerous tools to a woman fueled by rage and pain. Nothing good could come from this. But when had good ever been enough? If I do this, she said slowly, if I really commit to destroying him, there's no going back. No. I'll become exactly what you said, hard, ruthless, someone I might not recognize. Maybe. Or maybe you'll just become who you were always meant to be if the world hadn't tried to make you soft. And if I fail, you won't. You can't know that. I can. Kale's certainty was absolute. Because Adrian Wolf is a small man playing at being powerful. He inherited his company, married well, and convinced himself he built an empire. But he's never faced real opposition. Never been challenged by someone who actually understands how the game is played. He smiled. You're going to eat him alive, Valeria. The only question is how long you want to make him suffer first. The words should have sounded insane. Melodramatic. The revenge fantasy of someone who'd watched too many movies. Instead, they sounded like a promise. I need to think, Valeria said. Take all the time you need. But even as she said it, even as Kale stepped back and gave her space, Valeria knew the decision was already made. Had been made the moment Adrian's face went pale at the gala. The moment she realized she had the power to make him afraid. Some choices weren't really choices at all. 3 days later, Valeria walked into Adrian's office building. She'd called ahead. Made an appointment under a fake name. Claimed to represent an investment firm interested in discussing partnership opportunities. Adrian's assistant had been eager, almost desperate. Apparently business hadn't been as strong lately as the media suggested. Interesting. The building was exactly as she remembered. All glass and chrome designed to intimidate. The lobby was too large, the ceiling too high, everything calculated to make visitors feel small. Adrian's company, Wolf Industries, occupied floors 40 through 50. She took the elevator to 49, where his executive office commanded views of the entire city. The assistant who greeted her was new, young, probably 23, with the kind of eager smile that hadn't been beaten down by corporate reality yet. Ms. Reyes? The girl checked her tablet. Mr. Wolf is expecting you. Can I get you anything? Water? Coffee? I'm fine. He'll just be a few minutes. He's finishing a call. Valeria settled into one of the waiting area chairs. Expensive leather. Uncomfortable by design. Nobody was supposed to get too comfortable in Adrian's space. She pulled out her phone, pretended to check emails, and waited. 7 minutes later, the office door opened. Adrian stepped out, phone pressed to his ear, finishing a conversation in clipped tones. Don't care what the timeline is. Make it happen. That's what I pay you for. He ended the call, looked up, saw her. The color drained from his face so fast, Valeria thought he might actually pass out. What the... He caught himself, glanced at his assistant, then back at Valeria. Ms. Reyes. Surprise. Valeria stood, smooth and unhurried. We need to talk. How did you... Your assistant was very helpful. Apparently you're taking meetings with anyone who mentions investment opportunities. She tilted her head. Things must be tight. Adrian's jaw clenched. He looked at his assistant. Cancel my next meeting and hold all calls. Yes, sir. He gestured toward his office. After you. Valeria walked past him, close enough to smell that cologne she used to find attractive, and now just found cloying. The office was massive. Mahogany desk, leather chairs, art on the walls that cost more than most people's houses. Everything screamed money and power and complete overcompensation. Adrian closed the door. Didn't sit, just stood there, arms crossed. Defensive posture poorly masked as authority. What the hell are you doing here, Valeria? I told you, we need to talk. We have nothing to talk about. No? Because I seem to remember you being very interested in talking at the gala, before I walked away. His face flushed. That was different. How? We were in public. He struggled for words. You can't just show up at my office unannounced. Why not? We used to be married. Surely I'm allowed to drop by. That was 3 years ago. Was it? Feels like yesterday. Valeria moved to the window, looked out at Madrid spreading below. Nice view. I remember when you got this office. You were so proud. Youngest CEO in the company's history. Get to the point. The point, she said, turning to face him, is that I've been thinking about our conversation at the gala, about how you looked when you saw me. I was surprised. That's all. You were terrified. Don't flatter yourself. I'm not. She moved closer, watching his body language shift, shoulders tensing, weight moving back onto his heels. Fight or flight response. He wanted to run. I'm just stating facts. You saw me with Kale Draven and your entire face went white. Because you know who he is. What he's capable of. And you realize that maybe, just maybe, you fucked with the wrong person. Adrian's hands curled into fists. If you came here to threaten me, I didn't. Then what do you want? I want to give you a chance. That stopped him. A chance for what? To apologize. Silence. Adrian stared at her like she'd started speaking a language he didn't understand. Apologize, he repeated. Yes, for the lying, the cheating, the humiliation, for treating me like I was disposable. Valeria kept her voice level, almost pleasant. I want you to look me in the eye and tell me you're sorry for what you did. You're insane. Maybe, but I'm also serious. And if I refuse, then we find out just how much influence Kale Draven actually has in this city. Adrian's face went hard. So, this is about revenge. No, this is about accountability. There's a difference. Bullshit. You want to hurt me because I hurt you. That's all this is. You're right, Valeria said softly. I do want to hurt you, but not the way you think. I don't want to break your bones or ruin your reputation or destroy your company. She paused. I want you to feel what I felt that night I found out you'd replaced me. The humiliation, the powerlessness, the slow, crushing realization that you never mattered to the person you loved. I never loved you. The words landed like bullets, clean, efficient, designed to wound. Valeria smiled. I know. That's what makes this so much easier. What? If you'd loved me, this would be complicated, messy. I'd have to untangle all these emotions about what we meant to each other. She moved closer, close enough to see the pulse jumping in his throat. But you didn't love me. You used me. Married me because I looked good on your arm, and came from a respectable family and didn't ask too many questions about where you were or what you were doing. I was a prop, an accessory, something to display at parties and then ignore when it was convenient. That's not... It is, and you know it. The only question is whether you're going to admit it. Adrian's breathing had gone shallow. What do you want, Valeria? Money? Is that what this is about? Because I'll double the settlement, triple it, just... I don't want your money. Then what? I already told you, an apology. Fine. The word came out through gritted teeth. I'm sorry. There. Happy? Say it like you mean it. Fuck you. Valeria's smile widened. There he is, the real Adrian Wolf, not the polished businessman, not the charming socialite, just a scared little boy who can't handle being challenged. He moved fast, crossed the space between them in 2 strides, got in her face, close enough that she could see the rage burning in his eyes. You need to leave, he said, voice low and dangerous. Right now, before I call security. Valeria didn't flinch, didn't step back, just held his gaze. Call them, she said softly. Let's see how that plays in the media. Adrian Wolf has ex-wife forcibly removed from office. I'm sure your investors would love that story. His hand shot out, grabbed her arm. Not hard enough to hurt, but hard enough to cross a line. Let go of me, Valeria said, still calm, still controlled. Or what? Or I stop being nice. Something in her voice made him release her, made him step back, hands raised like he was dealing with something dangerous. Smart man. Valeria adjusted her sleeve where he'd grabbed her. You have 48 hours. For what? To decide if you're going to apologize. Really apologize. Not the bullshit performance you just gave. An actual genuine acknowledgement of what you did. And if I don't? Then I stop asking nicely. She moved toward the door, paused with her hand on the handle. Oh, and Adrian. That investment firm I claim to represent, they're real. And they were actually interested in partnering with Wolf Industries. We're being the operative word. I made some calls, mentioned a few concerns about your business practices. They've decided to pursue other opportunities. His face went white. You can't... I just did. 48 hours. She walked out. The assistant looked up, still smiling that eager smile. Did you have a good meeting? Very productive, Valeria said. Thank you. She made it to the elevator before the shaking started, made it to the lobby before her legs threatened to give out, made it outside into the cool air before she had to stop, lean against the building, and just breathe. What the hell had she just done? Confronted her ex-husband in his office, threatened him, watched him put his hands on her and didn't back down, sabotaged his business deal just to prove a point. She'd crossed a line, multiple lines. And the terrifying part, it felt good. Her phone buzzed. Kale, how did it go? She typed back with trembling fingers. I think I just declared war. Good. Come to the office. We need to talk strategy. Strategy. Like this was a military operation. Like she was a general marshaling forces instead of a woman who just made the biggest mistake of her life. Or the smartest move. Hard to tell which. Valeria pushed off the building, started walking. The city moved around her. People rushing to meetings, to lunches, to lives that didn't involve threatening ex-husbands or working for mafia bosses or becoming someone you didn't recognize. She envied them, but not enough to stop. Kale's office felt different this time, more serious. He was waiting when she arrived, standing by the windows with a phone pressed to his ear, speaking in that language she still couldn't identify. When he saw her, he ended the call. Sit, he said. Valeria sat, accepted the whiskey he poured without asking, drank half of it before speaking. I fucked up. Did you? I went to his office, confronted him, gave him an ultimatum. What kind of ultimatum? Apologize in 48 hours or face consequences. Kale's expression didn't change. And you think that was a mistake? I don't know. Maybe. Probably. I wasn't supposed to. We didn't plan this. I couldn't stop thinking about his face at the gala, and I needed to see if I could make him feel that way again. And could you? Yes. The word came out like a confession. He grabbed my arm, lost his composure completely. I've never seen him like that. Good. Good? Kale, I just escalated this into something I might not be able to control. No. He moved to sit across from her. You just showed him you're not afraid anymore. That's different. He could go to the police, claim I'm harassing him. He won't. How do you know? Because men like Adrian Wolf don't call the police when they're losing. They double down, get aggressive, try to regain control through force. Kale leaned forward, which is exactly what we want. We? You didn't come here just to tell me what happened. You came because you need help finishing what you started. Valeria's chest tightened. I don't know if I can finish it. Yes, you do. You're just scared of what finishing it means. Which is? Becoming someone who destroys people. Someone who uses power without hesitation. Someone… He paused. Someone like me. The words hung between them. I'm not you, Valeria said quietly. Not yet. But you're closer than you think. She should have been offended, should have defended herself, insisted she was still the woman who believed in doing things the right way, through proper channels, with clean hands. But that woman was dead, had died the night she walked out of Adrian's penthouse. Or maybe earlier, maybe the moment she discovered his betrayal and felt something inside her calcify into something harder than grief. What do I do now? She asked. You wait. Adrian will respond within 24 hours, not 48. He can't help himself. Men like him need to prove they're in control. And when he responds, then we move to phase 2. Which is? Kale smiled. Dismantling his life piece by piece. Chance. Adrian's response came 16 hours later. Valeria was in her hotel room when her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Then instinct, or curiosity, or the small part of her that still wanted to hear his voice, made her pick up. Hello? We need to meet. Adrian's voice was tight, controlled, but barely. Tonight. I gave you 48 hours. I don't need 48 hours. I need to end this now before you do something we'll both regret. I won't regret anything. Valeria, please. The word sounded painful in his mouth. Just meet with me, somewhere neutral. We'll talk, like adults. Where? The Espejo Hotel, rooftop bar, 9 p.m. Fine. She hung up before he could say anything else. The Espejo was high-end, expensive, the kind of place Adrian felt comfortable in. Neutral territory in the sense that neither of them had history there, but still his kind of space. Still his world. Valeria dressed carefully. Black pants, white blouse, professional but not corporate. She pulled her hair back, minimal makeup, nothing that screamed effort. This wasn't a date. Wasn't a negotiation between equals. This was a reckoning. Kale had offered to come with her. She'd refused. This was something she needed to do alone. Needed to prove, to herself more than anyone, that she could face Adrian without backup. The rooftop bar was half empty. Too early for the real crowd, too late for business dinners. Adrian sat at a corner table, back to the wall, drink already in hand. When he saw her, he didn't stand, didn't smile, just watched her approach with eyes that held too many emotions to parse. Valeria sat across from him. You wanted to talk. You look different. That's not what we're here to discuss. I know, He ran a hand through his hair. I can't figure you out anymore. 3 years ago, you were so soft, weak, easy to control. I was going to say different. Same thing. Adrian's jaw clenched. I didn't ask you here to fight. Then why did you ask me here? Because I want to understand what the hell is happening. 1 minute you're gone, completely disappeared, and the next you're back with Kale fucking Draven on your arm, showing up at my office, threatening my business. He leaned forward. What do you want from me, Valeria? I told you. An apology. And then what? You just disappear again? Go back to whatever life you've built with your mafia boyfriend? He's not my boyfriend. Right. He's your mentor, your colleague, whatever bullshit label makes you feel better about fucking a criminal. Valeria's hand tightened on her water glass. Careful. Or what? You'll have him kill me? Don't be dramatic. I'm being dramatic? You're the one who showed up at my office talking about consequences and accountability like some kind of… He stopped himself. Like what? Nothing. Say it. Like some kind of vigilante. Like you have the right to judge me. I have every right. You destroyed me. I divorced you. People get divorced, Valeria. It's not a crime. No. But the way you did it was... She kept her voice level. You didn't just leave. You replaced me. Publicly. Humiliated me in front of everyone we knew. And then you acted like I should be grateful for the settlement, like money could fix what you broke. Adrian was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer. I didn't want to hurt you. But you did. I know. And you never apologized. I'm apologizing now. No, you're not. You're trying to make this go away. There's a difference. He drained his glass, signaled the waiter for another. What do you want me to say? The truth. I've told you the truth. Have you? Because I don't think you have. Not even to yourself. Valeria leaned back. You married me because I fit the image you wanted. Young, pretty, connected enough to be useful, but not so connected that I'd overshadow you. And when Natalia came along with her father's real estate empire and her willingness to play the trophy wife game better than I ever did, I became expendable. It wasn't that simple. It was exactly that simple. The only complicated part is that you can't admit it. Can't admit that you're exactly the kind of shallow, calculating bastard everyone always suspected you were. Adrian's second drink arrived. He took a long pull, then set the glass down with controlled precision. Fine, he said. You want the truth? Here it is. You're right. I married you for the wrong reasons, used you to advance my position, and when someone better came along, I discarded you without thinking twice about what it would do to you. He met her eyes. I'm exactly the bastard you think I am. Happy now? No. Then what will make you happy? Destroying my company, ruining my marriage. What's the end game here, Valeria? I don't know yet. That's not good enough. It's all I have. Adrian slumped back in his chair. For the first time since she'd known him, he looked tired. Actually tired. Not the performative exhaustion of a busy executive, but genuine, bone-deep weariness. I can't give you what you want, he said quietly. Which is? Whatever fantasy you've built in your head about me groveling or suffering or whatever revenge scenario you and Draven have cooked up. I can't be that person. I won't. Then we have nothing left to say to each other. Valeria stood. Adrian grabbed her wrist. Wait. Let go of me. Just, please, 5 more minutes. Against her better judgment, she sat. Adrian released her wrist, both hands wrapping around his glass like a lifeline. What does he have on you? Who? Draven. What does he have on you that makes you willing to work for him? To threaten me? To become... He gestured vaguely. This? He doesn't have anything on me. Everyone who works for Kale Draven has something. Debt, secrets, leverage. That's how he operates. Maybe I just chose to work with him. Why? Because he saw potential in me when everyone else, including you, saw nothing. That's not true. Isn't it? You threw me away, Adrian, literally signed papers and moved on like I never existed. Kale looked at that same broken woman and saw someone worth investing in. He's using you. Maybe I'm using him. Adrian laughed bitterly. You have no idea who you're dealing with. And you do? I know enough. I know he's connected to half the illegal operations in this city. I know people who cross him tend to disappear or have very unfortunate accidents. I know... He stopped. What? Nothing. Tell me. I know he's dangerous, Valeria. More dangerous than you understand. And I know that once you're in his world, getting out is... He shook his head. There's a reason people fear him. I'm not afraid. You should be. Of him? Or of what I'm becoming? Adrian didn't answer. Valeria stood again. This time he didn't stop her. The 48 hours still stands. You have time to decide if you're going to really apologize or if we're going to do this the hard way. There is no hard way. You have nothing. Don't I? She walked away, leaving him with his drink and his certainty and his complete underestimation of what she was capable of. Outside, the night air was cool and clean. Her phone buzzed immediately. Kale. How'd it go? He's scared but trying not to show it. Good. That means he's vulnerable. What's next? Come to the office tomorrow. We have work to do. Valeria pocketed her phone and started walking. She should feel victorious, should feel powerful, should feel like she'd accomplished something by watching Adrian squirm. Instead, she felt empty, like she was chasing something that would never satisfy. Like revenge was a hunger that only grew stronger the more you fed it. But she couldn't stop now, wouldn't stop. Because Adrian was right about one thing, she had become someone new, someone harder, someone willing to burn bridges and break rules and do whatever necessary to make him understand what he'd destroyed. The question was whether that person would still recognize herself when this was over, or if there would be anything left to recognize at all. The next morning, Kale laid out the plan. "We're going to dismantle him systematically," he said, spreading papers across his desk. "Not with violence, not with anything that can be traced back to you, just information, leverage, the slow erosion of everything he's built." Valeria studied the documents, financial records, business contracts, personal emails, a complete dossier on Adrian's life. "Where did you get all this?" "I have resources." "That's not an answer." "It's the only answer you're getting." Kale tapped one of the documents. "Wolf Industries is profitable but over-leveraged. Adrian's been making aggressive acquisitions, trying to grow faster than the company can sustain. One or two deals falling through and the whole structure becomes shaky. So we sabotage his deals. We make them unattractive to his partners, raise questions about his judgment, plant seeds of doubt." He pulled out another file. "And then there's Natalia." "What about her?" "She's not as loyal as Adrian thinks. Her family's been pressuring her to divorce him and marry someone with better connections. Apparently Adrian's star isn't rising as fast as they'd hoped." "How do you know this?" "Her brother has gambling debts. I own those debts. He talks when he's nervous." Valeria felt something cold settle in her stomach. "You're going to use her family against her?" "I'm going to give her a reason to leave. What she does with that reason is her choice." "That's what? Cruel? Manipulative?" Kale's eyes were steady. "You wanted to destroy him, Valeria. This is what destruction looks like. It's not clean. It's not noble. It's finding every weakness and exploiting it until there's nothing left." "I don't want to hurt innocent people." "Then you should have stayed in Valencia translating tech documents, because this world doesn't have room for that kind of mercy." Valeria's hands clenched. "I won't do this." "Yes, you will. You can't just—" "I can't make you do anything. That's always been clear." Kale leaned back. "But you will. Because you've already tasted what it feels like to watch him afraid, and you want more, need more. It's like a drug. The first hit is powerful, but it wears off fast. You need escalation, need to see him fall further. You don't know what I need. Don't I?" She wanted to argue, wanted to insist he was wrong, that she wasn't driven by some base need for revenge, that she was better than this. But the words stuck in her throat. Because he was right. She did want more. Wanted to watch Adrian's perfect life crumble. Wanted him to feel the way she'd felt, powerless, humiliated, destroyed, and she was willing to do terrible things to make that happen. "What's the first move?" she asked quietly. Kale smiled, not triumphant, just satisfied. "There's a merger Adrian's been working on for 6 months, tech company out of Berlin. If it goes through, it'll stabilize Wolf Industries' finances for years. If it falls apart, everything else starts to crack." "Exactly. The German CEO is flying in next week for final negotiations. You're going to meet him first. And say what? Whatever you need to say to make him nervous about partnering with Adrian Wolf." "That's incredibly vague." "That's because I trust your judgment. You know how to read people, how to plant doubt without being obvious about it. This is what you do best, Valeria." She looked at the files spread across the desk, at the evidence of Adrian's life laid bare, at all the ammunition she'd need to tear him apart piece by piece. "When do I start?" "The CEO arrives in 3 days. I'll arrange a meeting, make it look like coincidence." "And if he doesn't believe me?" "He will, because you're going to tell him the truth, just not all of it." Valeria gathered the files, her mind already working through approaches, angles, the careful dance of manipulation she'd need to perform. "Kale?" "Yes?" "When this is over, when Adrian's destroyed and I've gotten my revenge, what then?" He was quiet for a moment. Then you decide who you want to be. The woman who destroyed her enemy, or the woman who became one herself. And if I can't tell the difference, then you'll fit perfectly in my world. It should have sounded like a warning. Instead, it sounded like a promise. Outside. The meeting with the German CEO happened in a restaurant Kale owned. Not obviously owned, the kind of place with discreet luxury and staff who knew when to be invisible. Valeria arrived first, dressed in corporate armor, tailored suit, minimal jewelry, hair pulled back in a way that suggested competence and control. She ordered wine, expensive but not ostentatious, and waited. Klaus Richter arrived exactly on time. Mid-50s, silver hair, the kind of bearing that came from running successful companies for decades. He approached her table with the confidence of a man who knew his worth. Miss Knox, he extended a hand. Mr. Richter, thank you for meeting with me. They sat, ordered, made small talk about his flight, the weather, Madrid's beauty, all the social niceties that preceded real conversation. Then Richter leaned back, studied her with sharp eyes. Your email was deliberately vague. You mentioned concerns about a potential business partnership but wouldn't elaborate. I'm intrigued. I appreciate your discretion in taking this meeting. Discretion is why I'm successful, but I'm also busy, Ms. Knox, so perhaps you could get to the point. Valeria sipped her wine. I understand you're in negotiations with Wolf Industries. Merger talks. His expression didn't change. That information isn't public. I know. I also know you're close to finalizing. That Adrian Wolf has promised you access to Southern European markets in exchange for the technology your company has developed. How do you know this? Because I used to be married to Adrian Wolf, and I know how he operates. Now Richter's eyebrows rose. I see. And you're here to, what? Sabotage his business out of spite? No, I'm here to give you information you should have before you sign anything. What kind of information? Valeria pulled a folder from her bag, slid it across the table. Adrian's financials, the real ones, not the projections he's been showing you. Richter opened the folder, started reading. His face remained neutral, but she saw the moment comprehension hit, the slight tightening around his eyes, the almost imperceptible shift in his posture. Where did you get this? Does it matter if it is accurate? He kept reading, flipped pages, stopped at a particularly damning section. This shows he's been using accounting tricks to inflate his company's value. Yes. And that his debt-to-equity ratio is significantly worse than reported. Also, yes. Richter closed the folder. Why are you showing me this? Because you're about to make a very expensive mistake. And unlike Adrian, I don't believe in letting people walk into disasters unprepared. This could be fabricated. It could be, but it's not. And you know it's not because you've probably had your own analysts flagging concerns. Small things, numbers that don't quite add up. Questions Adrian's team deflected with polished presentations and confident promises. Richter didn't deny it. Here's what's going to happen, Valeria continued. You'll take this information back to your team. They'll verify it, quietly, because you're smart enough not to tip your hand yet. And then you'll realize that Adrian Wolf has been lying to you about his company's stability. She paused. And you'll walk away from the deal. And if I don't? Then in 18 months, when Wolf Industries files for restructuring, you'll wish you had. And your board will ask why you didn't do more due diligence. Why you trusted a man who was obviously hiding his company's problems. Richter studied her for a long moment. This is personal for you. Yes. That usually makes information suspect. Usually. But not when it's documented across 40 pages of financial records your own accountants can verify. Why should I trust you? Because, unlike Adrian, I'm not asking you for anything. I'm just giving you information. What you do with it is entirely your choice. The waiter brought their food. Neither of them touched it. Finally, Richter spoke. He hurt you badly. He destroyed me. Or tried to. And now you're destroying him. I'm giving him exactly what he deserves. There's a difference. Is there? Richter's voice was thoughtful. Revenge is still revenge, Ms. Knox, even when it's wrapped in justified anger. Maybe, but I can live with that. He stood, leaving the folder on the table. I'll have my team verify this information. If it's accurate, it is. Then I'll reconsider the merger. That's all I ask. One more thing. Yes? Whatever war you're waging against your ex-husband, I hope it's worth what you're becoming to fight it. He left. Valeria sat alone, food cooling in front of her, folders still open to pages of financial data that would probably end Adrian's biggest deal. Her phone buzzed. Kale. Status? Hook set. Now we wait for him to verify and pull out. Excellent work. Excellent work. Like she was a student who'd just aced a test. Like she hadn't just sabotaged a multi-million-euro deal using stolen financial documents and manipulation. Like she wasn't slowly becoming exactly what Richter had warned about. But it was too late to stop now. The war had begun. And Valeria Knox was just getting started. The merger fell apart 3 days later. Adrian called her, voice shaking with barely controlled rage. What did you do? I have no idea what you're talking about. Richter pulled out, said he had concerns about our financials, concerns that mysteriously appeared right after you showed up in Madrid. Sounds like he did his due diligence. That's good business. You! Couldn't find words, just breathing hard on the other end. You're destroying me. No. You destroyed yourself. I'm just making sure everyone sees it. This isn't over, Valeria. No, she agreed. It's just beginning. She hung up and felt nothing but cold satisfaction spreading through her chest like ice. The woman who'd begged for love was gone. In her place stood someone far more dangerous, someone who'd finally learned that power wasn't given. It was taken. And she was just getting started taking everything Adrian Wolfe had ever cared about. The collapse came faster than Valeria expected. Within a week of the German merger falling through, 3 more of Adrian's deals started unraveling. A real estate partnership in Barcelona withdrew. An investment firm in London pulled their funding. A tech startup he'd been courting chose a competitor instead. Each failure felt like a small victory. Each phone call from Adrian, increasingly desperate, increasingly angry, was confirmation that she was winning. But winning didn't feel the way she'd imagined. She sat in Kale's office late one Thursday night, reviewing the damage. Files spread across the desk. Financial projections showing Wolfe Industries' slow bleeding. Market analyses indicating investor confidence dropping. All the careful work of the past 3 weeks bearing fruit. He's vulnerable now, Kale said, pouring them both whiskey. Another month of this, and he'll be forced to start selling assets. Maybe even the company itself. Valeria traced her finger along a graph showing Adrian's stock value declining. And then what? Then you've won. Have I? Kale looked at her. You're having doubts. No, She stopped, trying to articulate the hollow feeling that had been growing in her chest. I thought destroying him would feel different, better, like closure. Revenge rarely brings closure, just different kinds of pain. Then why are we doing this? Because you need to. Because walking away now would mean everything you've sacrificed. Your peace, your morality, your sense of who you are, would be for nothing. He sat across from her. You can't go back, Valeria. Only forward. He was right. She knew he was right. The woman who'd walked into his world 3 years ago wouldn't recognize the person she'd become. Wouldn't understand the satisfaction she felt watching Adrian suffer. Wouldn't forgive the methods she'd used. Manipulation, sabotage, calculated cruelty. But that woman was dead. And this new version? She was just getting started. What's next? Valeria asked. Kale pulled out another file. Natalia? What about her? Her family's putting pressure on her to leave Adrian. His declining status makes him a liability. But she's hesitating. Apparently she still has feelings for him. How touching. There's more. She's pregnant. The words hit Valeria like a physical blow. What? 3 months. She hasn't told anyone except her mother. Not even Adrian. Valeria's hands went numb. Pregnant. Natalia was carrying Adrian's child. The future he'd promised Valeria. Family, children, a life built together. He was building it with someone else. The rational part of her brain knew it shouldn't matter. Knew she was over him, past him, focused entirely on destroying him. But the irrational part, the part that still remembered loving him, felt like it was being ripped apart. Valeria, I'm fine. You're not. I said I'm fine. Her voice came out sharp. What does this change? Potentially everything. If Natalia tells him about the baby, it might motivate him to fight harder, might give him something to hold on to. Then we make sure she doesn't tell him. Kale's expression shifted. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we give her a reason to leave before she has that conversation, before she decides to stay for the baby. How? Valeria's mind was already working through possibilities. Dark possibilities. The kind that made her stomach turn even as she considered them. Does her family know about the pregnancy? She asked. Her mother does. No one else. And they want her to divorce Adrian? Desperately, they see him as a sinking ship. Then we accelerate the sinking. Make it so catastrophic that she has no choice but to leave. Make staying with him more dangerous than leaving. Kale leaned back, studying her. You're talking about complete destruction. Yes. That's different than what we've been doing. This isn't just business sabotage. This is personal, brutal. I know. And you're prepared for what that means? For who you have to become to execute it? Valeria met his eyes. I've already become her. I just haven't admitted it yet. Something flickered across Kale's face. Not approval exactly, more like recognition, like he was seeing her clearly for the first time. All right, he said quietly. Then let's burn it all down. Basic. The plan took shape over the next 48 hours. They would leak information about Adrian's financial troubles to the press. Not the business press. That would be expected, manageable. No, they'd go to the gossip columns, the society pages, the publications that Natalia's family read over breakfast, that their friends whispered about at charity events. They'd make his failure public, humiliating, impossible to ignore. And then they'd make sure Natalia knew exactly what staying with him would cost. Her family's respect, her social standing, her future. Kale had contacts at 3 major publications. All it would take was a few strategic phone calls, some carefully leaked documents, and Adrian Wolf's private failures would become public spectacle. When? Valeria asked. Tomorrow night. There's a charity gala. Half of Madrid's elite will be there, including Natalia's family. We leak the story that morning, let it circulate all day, and by evening everyone will know. Adrian will know it was me. Yes. He'll retaliate. Let him try. Kale's voice was cold. By the time he figures out how to respond, his entire world will have collapsed. Valeria should have felt triumphant, should have felt the rush of imminent victory. Instead, she felt sick. But she nodded anyway. Do it. Shot. The article dropped at 6 a.m. Valeria was awake when it published, sitting in her hotel room with coffee gone cold, watching the story spread across the internet like wildfire. Wolf Industries in financial crisis. Sources say CEO hiding massive debt. The headline was brutal. The article was worse. Every dirty detail of Adrian's leveraged acquisitions, his creative accounting, his desperate attempts to appear solvent while drowning in obligations, all laid bare for anyone to read. Within an hour, it had been picked up by business publications. Within 2 hours, trending on social media. By noon, financial analysts were publishing think pieces about the dangers of over-leveraging and using Wolf Industries as a cautionary tale. Adrian's company stock dropped 18% before trading was halted. Valeria's phone rang constantly, blocked numbers, unknown callers. She didn't answer any of them, until Kale called. Have you seen the news? He asked. I'm watching it happen in real time. Good. Phase 2 begins tonight at the gala. Natalia's family will pressure her to leave. We've made sure they know exactly how bad things are. Kale, what? Valeria pressed her palm against the window. Outside, Madrid moved through its Friday routine, oblivious to the small war being waged in penthouses and boardrooms. Nothing. I'll see you tonight. She hung up before he could press. The truth was, she didn't know what she'd been about to say. Didn't know if it was doubt or guilt or some last vestige of the person she used to be trying to surface. But it didn't matter. She'd set this in motion. Now she had to see it through. The gala was at the Velasco Museum. Black tie. 500 of Madrid's wealthiest and most influential people gathered to donate money they'd never miss to causes they'd forget by morning. Valeria wore red, deliberately. A dress that demanded attention, that announced her presence before she entered a room. She wanted to be seen, wanted everyone to know she was there. Kale met her at the entrance, elegant, in a black suit that probably cost more than a car. "Ready?" he asked. "No." "Good. Neither is Adrian." They entered together. The ballroom was magnificent. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, art on the walls worth more than small countries. Servers moved through the crowd with champagne and canapes. String quartet playing something classical and forgettable. Valeria scanned the room, found Adrian almost immediately. He stood near the bar, alone. No Natalia. His suit was perfect, his hair styled, everything about his appearance screaming control and confidence. But Valeria could see the cracks, the tension in his shoulders, the way he gripped his champagne glass too tightly, the forced smile when someone approached him. He was drowning in plain sight. "There's Natalia," Kale murmured. Valeria followed his gaze. Natalia stood with her parents across the room, her mother speaking urgently while Natalia's face remained carefully neutral. But even from this distance, Valeria could see the tears threatening. The pressure was working. "I need air," Valeria said suddenly. "What?" "Just 5 minutes. I need 5 minutes." She walked out before Kale could respond, through the ballroom to a balcony overlooking the museum's gardens. The cool night air hit her face, sharp and clean. What the hell was she doing? Destroying a man who destroyed her, that was the plan. The justification. The reason she'd spent months becoming someone capable of this kind of calculated cruelty. But watching Natalia cry, watching Adrian pretend everything was fine while his world collapsed, watching all of it unfold exactly as she'd orchestrated, it didn't feel like justice. It felt like becoming the thing she hated most. "Valeria?" She turned. Adrian stood in the doorway, backlit by the ballroom's glow. "We need to talk," he said. "No, we don't." "Please." The word sounded broken in his mouth. "Just 5 minutes." Against every instinct, she nodded. Adrian stepped onto the balcony, kept his distance. "You did this. The article. Everything." "Yes." "Why?" "Because you asked me to tell you why. Because you wanted to know what I was feeling that night you served me divorce papers." Valeria's voice was steady. "This is what I was feeling. This destruction. This helplessness. This watching everything you built turn to ash. I didn't..." He stopped. "I didn't know it would hurt you this badly." "Didn't you? Or did you just not care?" "Both. Maybe." He ran a hand through his hair, destroying the careful styling. "I was selfish, cruel. I treated you like you were disposable because it was convenient, because Natalia offered me something you couldn't. Power. Yes, and I'm paying for that now, losing everything because I was too stupid and arrogant to build anything real. Is this an apology?" "It's the truth." Adrian moved closer. "I destroyed you, and now you're destroying me. We're even. We're not even close to even. Then what will make us even? What will finally be enough for you?" Valeria looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time since this war began. Saw past the anger and betrayal to the man beneath, the one who'd swept her off her feet with charm and promises, the one who'd made her believe in forever and then shattered it without looking back. He looked smaller now, diminished, not the titan she'd built him up to be in her mind, just a man, flawed, afraid, human. "I don't know," she said quietly. "I thought destroying you would be enough. But it's not. It just makes me feel empty." "Yes." Adrian laughed bitterly. "Welcome to my world. I felt empty since you left, longer probably. I just didn't notice until you were gone." "Don't." "Don't what?" "Don't try to make me feel sorry for you. Don't pretend you suddenly developed a conscience. You made your choices. So did you." His eyes held hers. "You chose to become this, to work for Draven, to wage this war. Those were your decisions, Valeria. You don't get to blame me for who you've become." The words landed like bullets, because he was right. She'd chosen this, every step, every manipulation, every moment she'd looked at herself in the mirror and justified increasingly cruel actions as righteous vengeance. Adrian hadn't made her into this person. She'd done it to herself. "I need you to stop," Adrian said. "Please, I'm begging you. Whatever else you have planned, don't do it. I'll give you anything you want, money, a public apology. I'll divorce Natalia, whatever it takes. You can't give me what I want, which is the last 3 years back, the person I was before you destroyed her. Valeria's voice cracked. I want to be someone who doesn't enjoy watching you suffer, someone who doesn't feel satisfaction when your deals fall apart, someone who isn't willing to ruin a pregnant woman's life just to hurt you. Adrian went very still. Natalia's pregnant? Shit. She hasn't told you? No, how far along? He couldn't form complete sentences. Is it mine? 3 months, and yes. How do you know this? Because Kale Draven knows everything. That's what you never understood, Adrian. You thought you were powerful. You thought your money and your connections made you untouchable. But real power is information, leverage, the ability to destroy someone without ever raising your voice. And that's what you've become? Someone who weaponizes a pregnancy? I became what I had to become to survive what you did to me. No! Adrian's voice was hard now. You became what he made you, Draven. He took a hurt woman and turned her into a weapon. And you let him. He gave me purpose when I had nothing. He gave you revenge. That's not the same thing. It was enough. Was it? Because you look fucking miserable, Valeria. You look like you haven't slept in weeks. Like you're running on rage and coffee and whatever lies Draven tells you to keep you compliant. I'm not compliant. You're doing exactly what he wants. Destroying his enemies. Playing his games. You think this is about you getting revenge on me? It's bigger than that. Draven wants my company, my connections, my market share, and he's using your pain to get it. Valeria's heart rate spiked. You're wrong. Am I? Ask yourself who benefits most when I fall. Not you. You get nothing but the hollow satisfaction of watching me suffer. But Draven, he gets to swoop in, buy my company at a fraction of its value, absorb my assets, eliminate a competitor, all without getting his hands dirty because you did the destroying for him. That's not, he wouldn't he? The doubt crept in like ice water through her veins. Kale had been so helpful, so supportive, given her everything she needed to wage this war. But what had he asked for in return? What was his endgame? She'd never questioned it, never looked past the surface of his mentorship to see what lay beneath. You're lying, she said, but her voice wavered. I'm not. And you know I'm not. Adrian moved closer. Valeria, please. If you ever felt anything for me, if any part of what we had was real, stop this before it's too late. Before you do something you can't come back from. I can't. Why? Because I've already done it. Because there's no coming back from who I've become. Tears burned in her eyes. I've destroyed people, Adrian, sabotaged deals, manipulated a pregnant woman's family. I've become exactly the kind of person I used to despise, and it's too late to go back. It's never too late. It is for me. She turned to leave. Adrian grabbed her arm, not aggressive, just desperate. Valeria, wait! The door opened. Kale stepped out. His eyes went immediately to Adrian's hand on Valeria's arm. Something cold and dangerous passed over his face. Is there a problem? Kale's voice was silk over steel. Adrian released her. No problem. Just a conversation. Looked like more than conversation. We're done here. Valeria moved toward Kale, needing distance from Adrian, from his accusations, from the truth in his words. But Kale's attention stayed locked on Adrian. You need to leave, now. This is a public event, and you're not welcome. Not after the damage you've done to your reputation. People are talking, whispering. Your presence here is embarrassing to the hosts. Kale, Valeria started. Go inside, Valeria. Don't tell me what to do. His eyes cut to her. For just a second, she saw something beneath the controlled surface, something that made her blood run cold. Possession, anger, calculation, like she was a tool that had just questioned its purpose. Then it was gone, replaced by his usual calm. I'm sorry. You're right. I just don't like seeing him touch you. He wasn't. It wasn't. I know, but it bothers me anyway. Kale turned back to Adrian. You should go, before this gets uglier than it needs to. Adrian looked at Valeria. Remember what I said. Ask yourself who really benefits. Then he walked back inside. Silence settled over the balcony. Kale moved to stand beside her at the railing. "What did he say to you?" he asked. "Nothing important. Didn't look like nothing. He was trying to manipulate me, make me feel guilty." "And did it work?" Valeria didn't answer. Kale was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer. "You're having second thoughts." "No. Don't lie to me, Valeria. I can see it in your face. The doubt, the guilt, the wondering if maybe this has gone too far. Maybe it has. Then stop." The word surprised her. "What?" "Stop. Walk away. Go back to your hotel, pack your bags, leave Madrid. Go build that quiet life somewhere else. I won't stop you." "You mean that?" "I've never lied to you." He turned to face her. "But understand what you're choosing. If you stop now, Adrian wins. Not completely. He's still damaged, still vulnerable, but he survives, rebuilds. And in 5 years, he'll be back on top, probably with a new wife and a new set of people to destroy. All this pain you've endured, all the lines you've crossed, it'll be for nothing. And if I continue, then you finish what you started. You watch him fall completely. And yes, you'll have to live with what you've become. But at least you'll have the satisfaction of knowing he paid for what he did." Valeria's hands clenched on the railing. "Why do you care so much about destroying him?" "I told you, I believe in accountability." "That's not an answer. It's the only one I have." Kale said, "Yes or no, Valeria? Continue or walk away. But decide now. Because Natalia's family is about to confront her inside. And once they do, once they pressure her to leave Adrian publicly, there's no taking it back." This was the moment, the choice that would define everything. Continue down this path and become irredeemable. Or stop now and let Adrian off the hook for everything he'd done. Neither option felt right. But Valeria had learned that right and wrong were luxuries she couldn't afford anymore. "I'm not stopping," she said quietly. Kale smiled. "Good. Then let's finish this." Spam. They walked back inside together. The ballroom felt different now, charged with tension, whispers following them as they moved through the crowd. Valeria spotted Natalia immediately. She stood near her parents, face pale, as her mother spoke urgently. Around them, people tried not to stare and failed miserably. "It's happening," Kale murmured. And it was. Valeria could see it unfolding like a choreographed dance. Natalia shaking her head, her mother's expression hardening, her father making sharp gestures toward where Adrian stood alone at the bar. Then Natalia was moving, crossing the ballroom toward Adrian with her family following. Every eye in the room tracked her progress. She reached Adrian, said something Valeria couldn't hear. Adrian's face went white. Natalia was crying now, mascara streaking down her perfect face. Her mother tried to pull her away. Adrian reached for her. Natalia jerked back. The scene was playing out exactly as Kale had predicted. Public, humiliating, devastating. Valeria should have felt victorious. Instead, she felt nothing but acid in her throat. "I need to go," she said. "What?" "I can't watch this, Valeria." But she was already moving, pushing through the crowd toward the exit. Behind her, she heard raised voices. Natalia screaming something. Adrian's desperate response. The whole terrible drama reaching its crescendo. She made it outside before the nausea hit. Leaned against the museum's wall and dry heaved, her body rejecting what she'd just orchestrated. "Miss Knox?" She looked up. A man stood a few feet away, mid-40s, suit that didn't quite fit right. Not gala attire. "Who are you?" Her voice came out rough. "Detective Marcos Reyes, I need to ask you some questions." The world tilted. "Questions about what?" "About your relationship with Kale Draven, and your involvement in the systematic destruction of Adrian Wolf's business interests." He pulled out a badge. "We can do this here or at the station. Your choice." Valeria's heart hammered. "I don't know what you're talking about." "I think you do. We've been investigating Mr. Draven for months. Financial crimes, extortion, racketeering, and your name keeps appearing in connection with his recent activities." "I haven't done anything illegal." "Haven't you? Corporate espionage is illegal, Ms. Knox. So is using stolen financial documents to sabotage business deals. So is, I want a lawyer. Smart. You're going to need one. Detective Reyes moved closer. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to arrest Kale Draven tonight. Multiple charges, and everyone associated with his operations is going to be investigated. That includes you. I'm not associated with... Save it. We have emails, phone records, security footage of you entering his office dozens of times. We know you've been working with him. The only question is how deep you're in. Valeria's mind raced. Am I under arrest? Not yet, but that could change very quickly depending on what we find. He handed her a card. When you're ready to talk, and you will be ready eventually, call that number. Cooperation could help. Refusing to cooperate will make things significantly worse. He walked away, leaving Valeria standing outside the gala with her world collapsing around her. Police investigation, financial crimes, everyone associated with Kale being investigated. Adrian's words echoed in her head. Ask yourself who really benefits. With shaking hands, she pulled out her phone, called Kale. Where are you? He answered. Outside. We have a problem. What kind of problem? The kind with badges. Police are here. They're coming for you. Silence. Then, get to the car. Now. Don't talk to anyone. The line went dead. Valeria ran to where they'd parked. The Mercedes was already running, driver waiting. She slid inside just as Kale emerged from the gala, moving quickly but not running. He got in beside her. Drive, he told the driver. The car pulled away smoothly. Tell me everything, Kale said. Valeria relayed the conversation with Detective Reyes. Every word, every implication. When she finished, Kale was quiet for a long moment. This changes things, he finally said. Changes things? Kale, they're investigating both of us. They know about the deals we sabotaged. They probably know about the leaked financial documents. They know some things, not everything. That's not reassuring. It wasn't meant to be reassuring. It was meant to be accurate. He pulled out his phone, sent several quick texts. I need to make this go away, which means I need leverage. Leverage on who? The police? On everyone. The detectives investigating, the prosecutors who'd file charges, the media who'd report it. He looked at her. This is what I do, Valeria. Make problems disappear. By destroying people. By having the right information at the right time. And if you can't make it disappear, his expression hardened. Then we have bigger problems. Because if they charge me, they'll flip everyone who's ever worked with me. And that includes you. The implication hung in the air. You'd testify against me? She asked. I'd do whatever necessary to protect my interests, just like you'd do whatever necessary to protect yours. The cold calculation in his voice made her skin crawl. This was who he really was. Not the mentor, not the supportive presence guiding her toward vengeance. Just a man who used people and discarded them when they became liabilities. Just like Adrian. Let me out, Valeria said. What? Stop the car. Let me out. Valeria. Stop the fucking car! The driver glanced at Kale in the mirror. Kale nodded. The Mercedes pulled to the curb. Valeria grabbed her purse, her phone, and stepped out onto a Madrid street she didn't recognize. You're making a mistake, Kale said through the open door. Probably, but it's my mistake to make. If you walk away now, you have nothing, no protection, no resources, and Adrian will know you failed. I already failed. I just didn't realize it until now. She slammed the door. The Mercedes pulled away, leaving her alone on an empty street with nothing but the ruins of everything she'd built. Valeria walked. No destination, no plan, just movement to keep from falling apart completely. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Then, hello? Miss Knox, this is Elena Serrano, Natalia's mother. Valeria stopped walking. How did you get this number? That's not important. We need to meet. Tonight. It's about my daughter. I don't think... Please. You're the only person who might understand what she's going through. Why would I help you? Because despite everything you've done, and I know what you've done, you're not cruel enough to let an innocent woman suffer for your revenge. The words cut deep. Where? Valeria asked. Elena gave her an address. A cafe in a quiet neighborhood. 1 hour. I'll be there. Valeria hung up and stood in the middle of the sidewalk, trying to process the last 30 minutes. Police investigation, Kale's betrayal, and now Natalia's mother wanting to meet. Everything was falling apart, but maybe, just maybe, this was her chance to salvage something from the wreckage. Or maybe it was just another trap. Either way, she didn't have the luxury of avoiding it. She'd crossed too many lines to pretend she still had choices. Now she just had to live with the consequences. What? The cafe was small, tucked away on a side street. Valeria arrived 10 minutes early, ordered coffee she wouldn't drink, and waited. Elena Serrano entered exactly on time. Older than Valeria remembered, elegant in the way that came from money and breeding, but her eyes were tired. She sat across from Valeria without preamble. "Thank you for coming." "Why am I here?" "Because you've destroyed my daughter's life and I need to understand why." Valeria flinched. "I didn't... Please don't insult me by lying. I know what you've been doing, the leaked articles, the sabotaged deals, the pressure on Natalia to leave Adrian. All of it comes back to you." "I was getting revenge for what he did to me. By hurting an innocent woman who's carrying his child?" "She wasn't innocent. She knew he was married when they started their affair. She was 24 years old and in love with a man who promised her the world. Sound familiar?" The comparison hit like a slap. Elena leaned forward. "I'm not here to judge you, Ms. Knox. I'm here because my daughter is upstairs in my apartment, crying so hard she can barely breathe. Because the man she loves, however foolishly, is losing everything. Because she's pregnant and terrified and being torn apart by her family telling her to leave and her heart telling her to stay." "What do you want from me?" "I want you to stop. Whatever else you have planned, whatever final destruction you're orchestrating with Kale Draven, stop it." "I already stopped." "Have you?" Valeria didn't answer. "Adrian Wolf is a terrible person," Elena continued. "He hurt you badly. He deserves to face consequences. But my daughter doesn't deserve to be collateral damage in your war, and neither does her unborn child. I never wanted to hurt Natalia. But you did, and you need to fix it. I can't fix this. It's too far gone." "Can't or won't?" Valeria's hands clenched. "What do you expect me to do? Adrian's company is collapsing because of his own bad decisions. Natalia's family is pressuring her because they finally see him clearly. None of that is my fault. Isn't it? You weaponized every weakness, turned every vulnerability into a target. You wanted to watch him burn and you didn't care who else caught fire." The truth of it made Valeria's throat tight. "I was hurt," she said quietly. "He destroyed me, made me feel worthless. I just wanted him to feel the same." "And has it helped? Has watching him suffer healed what he broke?" "No." "Then maybe it's time to try something different." "Like what?" Elena pulled an envelope from her purse, slid it across the table. "This is everything Natalia knows about Adrian's business. Account numbers, hidden assets, evidence of actual fraud that could put him in prison for years." Valeria stared at the envelope. "Why are you giving this to me?" "Because you have a choice. You can use this to finish destroying him, send him to prison, take everything, complete your revenge." Elena paused. "Or you can give it to the authorities. Let the law handle it. Let him face real consequences from the justice system instead of from your personal vendetta. And if I do that, then maybe you can start becoming someone you don't hate when you look in the mirror." Valeria's vision blurred, tears she'd been holding back for weeks finally breaking through. "I don't know how to stop," she whispered. "I've been running on rage for so long I don't remember who I was before." "Then maybe it's time to find out." Elena stood. "Keep the envelope. Do whatever you think is right, but know that whatever you choose, it defines who you are. Not who Adrian made you, not who Draven manipulated you into becoming, just you, making a choice." She left. Valeria sat alone with the envelope, her cold coffee, and the weight of every decision that had led to this moment. Outside, Madrid continued its endless movement. Inside, Valeria Knox faced the only question that mattered. Who did she want to be? The woman who'd spent years becoming hard enough to destroy her enemies? Or someone brave enough to choose differently? Her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. "They're coming for you tomorrow. Arrest warrant signed. Run while you still can." A friend, Valeria's blood went cold. Tomorrow. Less than 12 hours to decide. Run, fight, or surrender. Less than 12 hours to choose who she'd be when this was over. If she made it to when this was over. She picked up the envelope Elena had left, felt its weight. All of Adrian's secrets. All the ammunition she'd need to destroy him completely. Or to save herself. The choice should have been obvious. But nothing about this had ever been obvious. And as Valeria walked out of the cafe into the cold Madrid night, she realized that the war she'd been fighting, the one against Adrian, against Kale, against everyone who'd hurt her, had only ever been preparation. The real war was the one inside her, between the woman she'd become and the woman she might still save. And she had less than 12 hours to decide which one would survive. Valeria didn't sleep that night. She sat in her hotel room with Elena's envelope on the desk in front of her, watching the hours tick away on her phone. Each minute brought her closer to the arrest warrant, closer to a decision she couldn't unmake. The envelope remained sealed. At 3 a.m., her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered without thinking. Valeria Knox? A woman's voice, professional, cold. Who is this? Someone who can help you, but only if you move fast. You have evidence that could bring down Adrian Wolf. I want it. Who the fuck is this? A prosecutor, one who's been trying to build a case against Wolf for years. His fraud, his corporate crimes, all of it. But he's slippery, good lawyers, better accountants. The woman paused. You have what I need. The question is whether you're smart enough to use it to save yourself. Valeria's pulse hammered. How do you know what I have? Elena Serrano called me. Said you were sitting on evidence that could put Wolf away for a decade. She also said you were being investigated by Marcos Reyes for your association with Kale Draven. And you're offering what? Immunity? Cooperation. You give me everything on Wolf. You testify about his business practices, his hidden accounts, his fraud. In exchange, I make sure the charges against you disappear. That's not how immunity works. It is when I'm the one negotiating it. I have leverage with Reyes. He wants Draven more than he wants you. You're just collateral. Give me Wolf and walk away clean. Valeria's hand shook. I need time to think. You have until 6 a.m. After that, Reyes executes the warrant and you're in custody. Once you're arrested, this deal evaporates. Your choice. The woman gave her a number. Call me when you decide. The line went dead. Valeria stared at the envelope. Inside was everything she needed to destroy Adrian completely or to save herself from the consequences of her own actions. But using it meant cooperating with the system, meant admitting what she'd done, meant testifying against the man she'd once loved, sending him to prison not out of revenge, but as part of a plea deal. It felt wrong, dirty, like giving up. But what was the alternative? Running? Where would she go that Kale's network or the police couldn't find her? Prison? Years locked away for crimes she'd committed in the name of revenge that had never satisfied anything? Or she could do what Elena suggested, turn over the evidence, let the law handle it, walk away and try to rebuild whatever was left of the person she used to be. None of the options felt right, but one of them felt survivable. At 5:30 a.m., Valeria called the number. I'm in, she said when the prosecutor answered. But I have conditions. Name them. Complete immunity. Not just for the Draven Association, for everything, the corporate espionage, the leaked documents, all of it. Done. And I want Natalia Serrano left alone. Whatever Adrian did, she wasn't part of it. She doesn't testify. She doesn't get dragged into this. Silence on the other end, then, fine. But you give me everything. No holding back, no protecting him. I'm not protecting him. I'm protecting myself. Then we have a deal. Where are you? Valeria gave her the hotel address. How long do I have? Reyes is executing the warrant at 7. You have 90 minutes to get to my office and sign the cooperation agreement. After that, you're on your own. I'll be there. She hung up and immediately started packing. Threw clothes into her bag without folding, grabbed her passport, the envelope, her laptop. Everything she'd need if this went sideways and she had to run anyway. Her phone buzzed. Text from Kale. We need to talk. Now. She ignored it, grabbed her bag and headed for the door. Another text. Don't do anything stupid. You're in danger. Then another. Valeria, answer me. She turned off her phone. The elevator ride down felt like descending into hell. Every floor another level deeper into consequences she couldn't escape. The lobby was empty except for the night clerk, who barely glanced up as she rushed past. Outside, dawn was breaking. Madrid washed in gray light that made everything look unfinished. Valeria flagged a taxi, gave the prosecutor's office address, and watched the city blur past the windows. The same city where she'd been married, where she'd been destroyed, where she'd spent months becoming someone capable of destruction in return. Now it would be the city where she chose survival over revenge. The taxi pulled up to a government building. Valeria paid, grabbed her bag, and walked inside on legs that threatened to give out. Security checkpoint. ID check. Elevator to the 9th floor. Each step feeling like walking toward either salvation or damnation. The prosecutor was waiting in a small conference room. 40s, sharp suit, eyes that had seen too many lies to believe anything without evidence. Ms. Knox, I'm Carmen Vega. She gestured to a chair. Sit. We don't have much time. Valeria sat, placed the envelope on the table. Carmen opened it, started reading. Her expression remained neutral, but Valeria saw the moment she realized what she was looking at. The slight widening of her eyes. The way her fingers tightened on the pages. Carmen looked up. This is everything. Account numbers, transfer records, evidence of fraud going back 5 years. How did you get this? Natalia Serrano. She's been keeping records, insurance policy in case he betrayed her the way he betrayed me. Smart woman. Smarter than I was. Carmen pulled out a legal document. This is the cooperation agreement. You sign it, you're committed. You testify to everything you know about Adrian Wolf's business practices, everything you did while working with Kale Draven. You hold nothing back. And in exchange? Immunity from prosecution, protection if Draven retaliates, a chance to walk away from this mess and start over. Valeria stared at the document. Her hand hovered over the pen Carmen offered. This was it. The moment everything changed. Sign the paper and become a witness, a collaborator with the system. Someone who chose self-preservation over the messy satisfaction of personal revenge, or walk away and face arrest. Prison. Years of her life gone because she'd been too proud or too damaged to accept help. She picked up the pen. The door burst open. Kale Draven stood in the doorway, flanked by 2 men in expensive suits. Lawyers, from the look of them. Don't sign that, he said. Carmen stood. Mr. Draven, you can't be here. This is a private meeting. About my business operations, which makes it very much my concern. Kale's eyes locked on Valeria. Put down the pen. How did you even know? Valeria started. I told you. I know everything that happens in this city. He moved into the room. Ms. Vega, whatever deal you're offering Ms. Knox, I can promise you it's not worth the paper it's written on. She has no actual evidence against me, just speculation and association. She has testimony. That's enough. Is it? Because my lawyers will tie your case up for years. And by the time you get me into a courtroom, if you ever do, Miss Knox will have perjured herself so many times she'll be facing charges worse than the ones you're trying to save her from. Carmen's jaw clenched. Are you threatening a witness? I'm stating facts. Kale turned to Valeria. You don't want to do this. Trust me. Trust you? Valeria's voice shook. You used me. Manipulated me into destroying Adrian so you could swoop in and take his company. Everything you said about justice and accountability was bullshit. You just wanted what he had. You're right. The admission shocked her into silence. I did want his company, Kale continued. I did manipulate the situation to make that possible, but I also gave you exactly what you asked for, the tools to make him suffer. You got your revenge, Valeria. Don't pretend you're some innocent victim in this. You knew what you were doing every step of the way. That doesn't make what you did right. No, but it doesn't make you signing that agreement right either. You think cooperating with the prosecutor makes you better than me? It just makes you a different kind of opportunist, trading your testimony for freedom. At least I'm honest about what I am. Valeria looked at Carmen, then at the cooperation agreement, then back at Kale. He was right. God help her, he was right. She wasn't innocent. Wasn't the victim anymore. She'd made choices, terrible choices, and now she was trying to escape the consequences by cooperating with the authorities. But what was the alternative? Go down with Kale? Face prison for crimes she'd committed in pursuit of revenge that had never satisfied anything? I'm signing it, she said. Valeria, You don't get to tell me what to do anymore. You don't get to manipulate me or use me or make me feel like I owe you something. She picked up the pen again. I made mistakes. I'm owning them, and I'm taking the deal that lets me survive. At what cost? At whatever cost necessary. She signed the document, her hand shaking, but the signature clear. Legally binding, no taking it back. Carmen took the paper, countersigned it, and handed a copy to Valeria. You're officially under witness protection. Mr. Draven, you need to leave, now, or I'll have security remove you. Kale's expression was unreadable. You're making a mistake. It's my mistake to make. No, I mean, you're making a mistake about what happens next. You think signing that paper keeps you safe? You just painted a target on yourself. Adrian will know you cooperated. So will everyone in his circle. They'll come after you, legally, financially, every way they can. Then I'll deal with it. Will you? Because the Valeria Knox I trained wouldn't roll over for the system. She'd fight. She'd find another way. He leaned forward. You're better than this. Maybe I don't want to be better. Maybe I just want to survive. Kale studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. All right, then survive. But know that you're choosing a harder path than you realize. He walked out. His lawyers followed. Silence settled over the conference room. Carmen began gathering documents. We need to move you to a safe location. Draven wasn't bluffing about retaliation. I know, and we need to prepare your testimony. The arraignment for Wolf is scheduled for next week. You'll need to be ready. I will be. But even as she said it, Valeria felt the weight of what she'd just done settling over her like a shroud. She'd chosen survival, chosen cooperation, chosen to become a witness against both the man who'd destroyed her and the man who'd rebuilt her into something dangerous. It should have felt like victory. Instead, it felt like one more thing she'd lost. The safe house was the apartment in a quiet neighborhood. 2 bedrooms, bars on the windows, a federal agent stationed outside who looked bored but capable. Carmen left her there with instructions to stay inside, don't contact anyone, and prepare for the deposition scheduled for Monday. Valeria unpacked her bag, made coffee, and tried to process the last 12 hours. She'd betrayed Kale, agreed to testify against Adrian, signed away whatever remained of her autonomy in exchange for immunity. And she still didn't know if she'd made the right choice. Her burner phone, the one Carmen had given her, rang. Only 3 people had the number: Carmen, the federal agent outside, and one other. She answered. Hello? It's me. Natalia's voice, quiet, shaking. How did you get this number? My mother gave it to me. She said you signed the cooperation agreement, that you're testifying against Adrian. Yes. Why? Because it was the only way to... Valeria stopped. Why does it matter? Because I need to understand. I need to know if you're doing this for revenge or for justice or just to save yourself. All of it. None of it. I don't know anymore, Natalia. Silence on the other end. Then, he's falling apart. Good. Is it? Because the man I see now, he's not the arrogant bastard you married. He's just scared, lost. He knows what's coming, and he can't stop it. He should have thought about that before he committed fraud. Maybe. Or maybe we're all just doing the best we can with the damage we've inherited. Natalia paused. I'm leaving him. Because your family pressured you? Because I finally see him clearly, and I don't like what I see. Her voice broke. But I also don't like what I see when I look at myself. I was the other woman. I destroyed your marriage. I convinced myself it was love, but it was just ambition, greed, the same things that drove him. Yes. Valeria closed her eyes. What do you want from me, Natalia? I want to know if it ever gets better, if the guilt ever stops. I don't know. I'm still waiting to find out. That's not comforting. It's honest. Another silence. Then, thank you for keeping me out of it. My mother told me you made that a condition of your deal. You're pregnant. You don't deserve to be dragged through this. Neither did you. But Adrian dragged you through it anyway. Natalia's voice hardened. Make him pay for it. In court. Make him face what he did. I will. Good. A pause. Valeria? Yes? I'm sorry. For everything. I know it doesn't fix anything, but I'm sorry." The line went dead. Valeria sat in the empty apartment, holding the phone, feeling something crack inside her chest. Natalia had apologized. Adrian never had. Not really. Not in a way that mattered. And suddenly the whole structure of revenge she'd built, the careful justifications, the righteous anger, felt hollow. Because Natalia was just another person trying to survive. Just like Valeria. Just like Adrian, probably, in his own fucked up way. They were all just broken people breaking each other and calling it love or ambition or justice. And Valeria was tired of it. Tired of the anger, the calculating, the constant vigilance, the person she'd had to become just to feel like she wasn't drowning. She wanted to be done. But done meant testifying, meant facing Adrian in court, meant answering questions about everything she'd done, everything she'd discovered, every line she'd crossed in pursuit of revenge that had never satisfied anything. Done meant consequences. And Valeria was so fucking tired of consequences. Her phone buzzed. Text from Carmen. Deposition moved up. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. Be ready. Tomorrow. Less than 24 hours to prepare to destroy what remained of Adrian's life. Less than 24 hours to decide if she could actually go through with it. The deposition room was small and airless. Carmen sat on one side of the table with a court reporter. Valeria sat across from them. Adrian's lawyers, 3 of them, expensive suits and practiced neutrality, sat at the end. Adrian wasn't there. Didn't have to be for a deposition. Somehow that made it worse. "Let's begin," Carmen said. "Ms. Knox, please state your full name for the record." "Valeria Maria Knox." "And your relationship to Adrian Wolfe?" "I was his wife. We were married for 3 years, divorced 3 years ago." "And in the time since the divorce, have you had any contact with Mr. Wolfe?" "Yes. Recently, in the last 2 months." "Describe the nature of that contact." Valeria took a breath. "I confronted him about the way he'd treated me during our marriage, about the affairs, the public humiliation. I wanted an apology." "And did he apologize?" "No." "What happened next?" Valeria's throat tightened. "I decided to make him suffer the way he'd made me suffer." One of Adrian's lawyers leaned forward. "Ms. Knox, are you admitting to a coordinated campaign of harassment?" "I'm admitting to using information about his business practices to sabotage his professional relationships." "Information you obtained illegally?" "Information I obtained from someone who had access to his private records. Whether that access was legal is a different question." The lawyer smiled. "Indeed it is." Carmen cut in. "Ms. Knox, walk me through what you discovered about Mr. Wolfe's business operations." And Valeria did. For 3 hours she detailed everything. The over-leveraged acquisitions, the creative accounting, the shell companies hiding debt, the fraud Elena's envelope had documented. Adrian's lawyers objected constantly, questioned her sources, demanded proof she couldn't provide without violating attorney-client privilege or revealing protected witnesses. But Valeria kept talking, because this was what she'd signed up for. This was the price of immunity, of survival. By the time they finished, she felt scraped raw, like she'd peeled back every layer of protection and exposed herself completely. "We'll break for today," Carmen said. "Resume tomorrow at the same time." "Tomorrow?" Valeria's voice came out hoarse. "The arraignment is Wednesday. We need your complete testimony before then." Which meant another day of this. Another day of reliving every moment, every decision, every line crossed. Valeria stood on shaking legs and walked out. The hallway was empty except for one person, Adrian. He stood near the elevator, hands in his pockets, looking like he hadn't slept in days. "You shouldn't be here," Valeria said. "I know. My lawyers told me to stay away, but I needed to see you." "Why?" "Because I need to understand what I did that made you hate me this much." Valeria laughed, sharp and bitter. "You really don't know? I know I hurt you. I know I was selfish and cruel, but this," he gestured toward the deposition room, "this is destroying me completely, taking everything, my company, my freedom, my future." He moved closer. "Is that really what you want?" "I don't know what I want anymore. Then why are you doing it? Because I don't have another choice. Because I made mistakes, and this is how I fix them. By burying me? By telling the truth. If that buries you, it's because you buried yourself. Adrian's face hardened. The truth. You want to talk about truth? Then let's talk about what you did with Kale Draven, the corporate espionage, the manipulation, the systematic destruction of my business relationships. You think you're better than me? You're worse. At least I was honest about being a bastard. You pretended you were seeking justice while you were just getting revenge. You're right. The admission seemed to shock him. What? You're right. I did all those things. I became exactly the kind of person I used to despise, and I have to live with that. Valeria met his eyes. But the difference between us? I'm taking responsibility. I'm facing consequences. I signed a cooperation agreement that requires me to testify against myself as much as against you. What are you doing? You're still lying, still hiding, still trying to manipulate your way out of facing what you've done. I can't go to prison, Valeria. Why not? Other people do. People who committed smaller crimes than you. Why should you be exempt? Because He stopped. Because you're what? Rich? Connected? Too important to face consequences? She shook her head. That's exactly the problem. You've never faced real consequences for anything, and it's made you into someone who destroys people without thinking twice. I think about you constantly. That's not the same thing. I know. His voice dropped. I'm sorry. For all of it. For the way I treated you, for the affairs, for making you feel like you were disposable. You deserved better. You deserved... Stop. Valeria, just stop. Because 3 years ago, that apology would have meant everything. It would have been enough. But now? She moved toward the elevator. Now it's just words. Too little. Too late. From someone who's only sorry because he's finally facing consequences. The elevator opened. Valeria stepped inside. I loved you, Adrian said. Maybe not the way I should have. Maybe not enough. But I did love you. No, you didn't. You loved what I represented, what I could give you, the image of having a beautiful wife who made you look good at parties. The doors started to close. You never loved me. You just liked owning me. That's not true. But the doors cut off whatever else he was going to say. Valeria rode down alone, her reflection staring back from the mirrored walls. She looked tired, older, like she'd aged years and months, like she'd fought a war and lost even when she won. The lobby was crowded, lawyers, business people, the machinery of justice grinding through another day. Valeria pushed through toward the exit. Someone grabbed her arm. She spun, heart hammering, expecting Adrian or one of his lawyers or Kale. We need to talk, he said. I have nothing to say to you. That's fine, just listen. He steered her toward a quiet corner. The prosecutor thinks she has me. She doesn't. I'm too careful, too protected. Whatever testimony you give won't be enough to charge me with anything that'll stick. Good for you. But Adrian, he's vulnerable. And when he goes down, there's going to be a power vacuum. His company, his assets, his market share, all up for grabs. And you want it. I'm going to take it, whether you help or not. Kale's expression was neutral. But I'm offering you a peace. Valeria stared at him. You're offering me what? Partnership in the company you're stealing from my ex-husband? I'm offering you power, real power, not revenge, not justice, just control over something that actually matters. Why? Because despite everything, I respect what you've become. You're ruthless, intelligent, capable of making hard decisions. Those are rare qualities. I don't want to be ruthless. Too late. You already are. The only question is whether you use it or waste it trying to be someone you're not anymore. Valeria pulled her arm free. I'm done. With you. With this. With all of it. Are you? Because testifying against Adrian doesn't make you done. It just makes you a witness. Someone the system uses and then discards when you're no longer useful. He leaned closer. I'm offering you an alternative. Real power instead of borrowed authority. A chance to build something instead of just tearing things down. I don't trust you. Smart. You shouldn't. But think about it anyway. Because once that arraignment happens, once Adrian goes to prison or his company collapses or whatever end this story reaches, You're going to need a plan. Need something to do with the rest of your life. Need a purpose that isn't just surviving." He walked away before she could respond, leaving Valeria standing in the courthouse lobby, caught between two impossible futures. Testify, help destroy Adrian, walk away with immunity and try to rebuild some kind of normal life from the ashes of everything she'd burned. Or take Kale's offer, embrace the ruthlessness she'd developed, use it to build something instead of just destroying. Neither option felt right, but one felt survivable, and one felt like power. The arraignment was chaos. Media everywhere, cameras, reporters shouting questions, protesters with signs about corporate crime and accountability. The courthouse steps transformed into a spectacle. Valeria watched from a car parked across the street, wearing sunglasses and a hat, trying to be invisible. Adrian arrived in a black SUV, flanked by lawyers. His face was blank, controlled, but she could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his hands clenched. He was terrified. The crowd surged. Questions flew. Adrian pushed through without responding, his lawyers creating a corridor toward the courthouse entrance. Then he stopped, turned, looked directly at where Valeria's car was parked. He couldn't possibly see her. The windows were tinted. She was blocks away. But somehow he knew she was watching. He stood there for a long moment. Then he nodded. Just once. A tiny gesture that could have meant anything. Acknowledgement, acceptance. Goodbye. Then he turned and walked into the courthouse to face charges that would probably end with prison. Valeria's hands shook. This was it. The culmination of months of planning, of rage, of becoming someone capable of this level of calculated destruction. She should feel victorious. She felt nothing but hollow. Her phone rang. "Carmen." "Where are you?" "Nearby." "You need to be inside. The arraignment starts in 20 minutes. "I know." "Valeria I'll be there." She hung up. But she didn't move, because walking into that courthouse meant committing, meant testifying, meant sealing Adrian's fate with her words. And despite everything, despite the affairs, the betrayal, the years of anger, she wasn't sure she could do it, wasn't sure she could be the weapon that destroyed him completely. Her phone buzzed, text from an unknown number. "You still have a choice. Walk away, disappear. I can make it happen." Kale, offering her an escape, one last chance to choose differently. Valeria stared at the message, then at the courthouse, then at her own reflection in the rearview mirror. The woman looking back was someone she barely recognized, harder, colder, forged by pain into something sharp enough to cut. But was she sharp enough to destroy the man she'd once loved, or brave enough to choose mercy instead? The clock hit 9 a.m. The arraignment was starting. Valeria took a breath, made her choice, and opened the car door. The courtroom was packed. Adrian sat at the defense table, flanked by lawyers, looking smaller than she'd ever seen him. Natalia wasn't there. Neither was her family. He was alone except for hired representation. Valeria slipped into a seat in the back. Carmen spotted her, nodded, then turned her attention to the judge entering. "All rise." Everyone stood. The judge, older woman, severe expression, settled into her chair. "Be seated. We're here for the arraignment of Adrian Wolf. Charges include fraud, wire fraud, tax evasion, and misrepresentation to investors. How does the defendant plead?" Adrian stood. "Not guilty, Your Honor." "So noted. Bail?" Carmen stood. "The prosecution requests no bail. Mr. Wolf has significant financial resources and connections internationally. He's a flight risk," Adrian's lawyer countered. "My client has cooperated fully with this investigation. He has deep ties to the community. He's not going anywhere." The judge considered. "Bail is set at 5 million euros, passport surrendered, GPS monitoring. Next court date is, Your Honor, if I may." Everyone turned. Valeria stood. "Who are you?" the judge asked. "Valeria Knox. I'm scheduled to testify for the prosecution." Carmen looked panicked. This wasn't part of the plan. Witnesses didn't speak during arraignments. "Ms. Knox, this is highly irregular." "I know, but I need to say something to the court, to Mr. Wolf, to everyone." Valeria's voice shook but held. I was married to Adrian Wolfe for 3 years. He destroyed me, cheated on me, humiliated me publicly, made me feel worthless. And for years after, I wanted revenge. Wanted to make him suffer the way he made me suffer. Adrian was staring at her now. Everyone was. I spent months planning his destruction, working with people who manipulated me into becoming someone capable of this level of cruelty. And I succeeded. I found his weaknesses, exploited them, sabotaged his business, turned his allies against him. Everything that's happening to him now, I helped orchestrate it. Carmen tried to interrupt. Ms. Knox, but here's what I realized. Valeria looked directly at Adrian. Revenge doesn't heal anything. It just makes you into the thing you hate. I became ruthless, calculating, willing to hurt innocent people just to watch you fall, and it didn't fix what you broke. It just broke me worse. Silence in the courtroom. So I'm here to say that whatever else happens, whatever charges stick, whatever prison time you serve, I'm done. I'm not testifying. I'm not participating in your destruction anymore, because I finally understand that the only person I was really destroying was myself. Carmen stood. Your Honor, Ms. Knox is under a cooperation agreement. I'm breaking it. Valeria turned to the judge. I know that means I lose immunity. I know I face charges for what I did, and I'm prepared to accept those consequences. But I'm not going to destroy someone else just to save myself. Not anymore. The courtroom erupted. Lawyers shouting, the judge calling for order, Carmen looking furious. But Valeria just stood there, finally feeling like herself for the first time in years. The judge slammed her gavel. Order. Ms. Knox, you understand that breaking a cooperation agreement has serious legal consequences. Yes, Your Honor. And you're willing to face those consequences rather than testify? Yes. The judge looked at Carmen, then at Adrian, then back at Valeria. This is the most bizarre arraignment I've ever presided over. She rubbed her temples. Ms. Vega, I assume you'll need time to determine how to proceed given this development? Yes, Your Honor. Carmen's voice was ice. Fine. We'll reconvene in 2 weeks. Mr. Wolfe, you're released on bail with the conditions stated. Ms. Knox, you're going to want to get a very good lawyer. This court is adjourned. The gavel came down. Chaos erupted. Valeria walked out before Carmen could reach her, before Adrian could try to talk to her, before anyone could ask what the hell she thought she was doing. Outside, the media swarmed. Questions flew. Cameras flashed. She pushed through without answering, made it to the street. A car pulled up. Black Mercedes. Window rolled down. Kale looked at her from the back seat. Get in. No. Valeria, I said no. I'm done with you. Done with Adrian. Done with all of this. Where will you go? I don't know. Somewhere that isn't here. Somewhere I can figure out who I am when I'm not trying to destroy someone. That's not a plan. It's the only plan I have. Kale studied her. Then, surprisingly, he smiled. You're finally interesting again. What? For months, you've been exactly what I made you. Predictable, controllable, a weapon I could aim. But this, he gestured at the courthouse. This is the woman I first met. The one who walked away from everything because she had the strength to choose herself. I don't need your approval. I know that's what makes it worth something. He leaned back. Good luck, Valeria Knox. You're going to need it. The window rolled up. The car drove away, leaving Valeria standing alone on a Madrid street with nothing but the clothes on her back and a future full of consequences she couldn't predict. But for the first time in years, those consequences would be her own. Not Adrian's, not Kale's, not anyone's but hers. And somehow, that felt like freedom, the kind that came with a price. But freedom nonetheless. The consequences came faster than Valeria expected. Within 48 hours of walking out of the courthouse, Carmen Vega filed charges. Obstruction of justice, breach of cooperation agreement, conspiracy to commit corporate espionage. Each charge carried prison time. Combined, they could mean years locked away. Valeria hired a lawyer with money she didn't have, a public defender who looked 12 years old and overwhelmed. They met in a coffee shop because the kid couldn't afford an office. You're in serious trouble, he said, reviewing the charges. Breaking a cooperation agreement after receiving immunity. Judges hate that. It makes them look like they were played. I wasn't playing anyone. I just couldn't go through with it. That's not a legal defense. Then what is? The kid rubbed his eyes. Honestly? Not much. Your best bet is to plead guilty, show remorse, hope for leniency. Maybe 18 months instead of 5 years. 18 months. A year and a half of her life gone because she'd chosen mercy over revenge. It should have felt unfair. Instead, it felt inevitable. When's the hearing? Valeria asked. 2 weeks, unless you want to try negotiating with the prosecutor. Carmen Vega doesn't negotiate, not with people who made her look stupid in court. Then we prepare for the worst and hope for something better. Hope. What a strange concept. Valeria had spent so long running on rage and calculation that hope felt foreign, like a language she used to speak but had forgotten. She left the coffee shop and walked. No destination, just movement to keep from drowning in the weight of what was coming. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Then, hello? Valeria Knox? A man's voice, familiar, but she couldn't place it. Who is this? Detective Marcos Reyes, we spoke at the gala. I need to meet with you. Her stomach dropped. I have a lawyer now. You need to... This isn't about the charges Carmen filed. This is about Kyle Draven. I already told you, I'm not cooperating against him. I know. That's why I'm calling. Because you're the only person who's worked with him and walked away alive. Reyes paused. I think he's planning something involving Adrian Wolf. And I think you're the only one who can help me stop it. Why would I help you? Because whatever Draven's planning, it's going to hurt people, innocent people. And despite what you think about yourself, despite the mistakes you've made, you're not someone who lets innocent people get hurt if you can prevent it. Valeria closed her eyes. You don't know me, don't I? You protected Natalia Serrano, made sure she wasn't dragged into the prosecution. You walked away from immunity rather than destroy Adrian completely. Those aren't the actions of someone who doesn't care about collateral damage. What do you want from me? Meet with me. One conversation. If you don't think there's a real threat after we talk, you walk away. No pressure, no obligation. Against every instinct that screamed to hang up and run, Valeria said, Where? But they met in a park. Neutral ground. Reyes was already there when she arrived, sitting on a bench feeding pigeons like some kind of detective from an old movie. Ms. Knox, he gestured to the empty space beside him. Thank you for coming. Valeria sat but kept distance between them. You have 10 minutes. Kale Draven is planning a hostile takeover of Wolf Industries. We've been monitoring his communications. He's assembling investors, preparing to buy out Adrian's debt, position himself to acquire the company when it collapses. That's not illegal. The methods he's using are bribery, intimidation, forcing creditors to call in loans early. He's not just waiting for Adrian to fail, he's accelerating the failure. Again, why do I care? Because Wolf Industries employs 3,000 people. When it collapses, they lose their jobs, their pensions, everything. Draven doesn't care. He'll gut the company, sell the assets, and leave those people with nothing. Reyes turned to face her. You worked with him. You know how he operates. Help me prove what he's doing before it's too late. Valeria stared at the pigeons fighting over breadcrumbs. If I help you, Carmen will use it against me. Say I'm trying to manipulate my way out of the charges. Or she'll see it as genuine cooperation, as someone trying to do the right thing. The right thing, Valeria laughed bitterly. I don't even know what that means anymore. It means stopping someone from destroying 3,000 lives just to prove he can. Reyes pulled out a folder. These are the employees, names, faces, people with families who depend on paychecks that'll disappear if Draven succeeds. Valeria didn't open the folder. Why me? You've been investigating him for months. You must have other sources. We do. But they're all terrified. Draven has a reputation for making problems disappear, permanently. You're the only person who's stood up to him and survived. He paused. You're also the only person who knows his methods well enough to anticipate his next move. I'm not working for him anymore. But you learned from him. You know how he thinks, how he strategizes, what weaknesses he exploits. Reyes leaned forward. Help me stop him. Not for Adrian, not for the system. For those 3,000 people who've done nothing wrong except work for a company that's about to be stripped for parts. Valeria took the folder, opened it. Faces stared back. Ordinary people, administrative assistants, factory workers, mid-level managers, all of them about to lose everything because two powerful men were playing games with their livelihoods. She closed the folder. What do you need? But the plan was simple in concept, brutal in execution. Reyes needed proof that Kale was using illegal methods to force the takeover, recorded conversations, documentation of bribes, evidence that would hold up in court, and Valeria was the only one who could get it. He won't trust me anymore, she said. I walked away, broke the cooperation agreement. He knows I'm unreliable, which is exactly why this might work. Reyes spread documents across the coffee shop table. You're facing serious charges, prison time. From his perspective, you're desperate, and desperate people are useful. You want me to go to him, pretend I need his help. I want you to be honest. You do need his help. You're facing 18 months in prison. Your lawyer is a kid who can barely tie his shoes. Your options are prison or somehow finding leverage to negotiate a better deal. And Kale has leverage. Always. The question is whether he'll share it with you. Reyes pulled out a small device. You wear a wire. Get him talking about the takeover, about the illegal methods, about anything that proves criminal intent. And if he finds the wire? Reyes didn't answer. Didn't need to. They both knew what happened to people who tried to record Kale Draven without his knowledge. I need guarantees, Valeria said. If I do this, if I get you what you need, Carmen drops the charges. I'll talk to her. That's not good enough. It's all I have. Carmen wants Draven more than she wants you, but she's not going to make promises until she sees what you deliver. So I risk my life on the possibility that maybe she'll be grateful enough to cut me a deal. Yes. Valeria stared at the wire. Tiny, almost invisible, designed to be hidden against skin, transmitting everything within a 100-foot radius to receivers Reyes would position nearby. She should say no, should walk away, should accept the 18 months and whatever else came rather than risk what Kale would do if he discovered the betrayal. But those faces from the folder haunted her. 3,000 people who'd done nothing except show up to work every day, who didn't deserve to be collateral damage in someone else's war. When? She asked. Tomorrow night. There's a meeting, Kale and his investors. They're finalizing the takeover strategy. You show up, ask for a private conversation, get him talking. And if he says no, then we find another way. But he won't say no, because you're Valeria Knox, and despite everything, I think part of him still believes he can turn you back into the weapon he created. The words hit harder than Reyes probably intended, because he was right. Kale had spent months shaping her, teaching her, turning her from a broken woman into something dangerous. And she'd let him, had welcomed the transformation because it felt like power. Now she'd use everything he taught her against him. The irony wasn't lost on her. I'll do it, she said. The meeting was in a private club. Old money, older secrets. The kind of place where powerful people made deals that shaped entire industries without ever being documented in official records. Valeria wore the wire taped against her ribs. The technician had positioned it carefully, shown her how to activate it with a specific movement, reaching to touch her collarbone, natural enough that it wouldn't raise suspicion, deliberate enough that the device would know to start recording. She entered the club alone. The doorman checked her name against a list, looked surprised to find it there, and waved her through. The interior was all dark wood and leather, cigar smoke hanging in the air like ghosts, men in expensive suits talking in low voices about things that would never make the news. Kale sat in a private room at the back. She could see him through the glass partition, surrounded by men she didn't recognize. All of them focused on documents spread across the table. She waited outside until the meeting broke, watched the investors leave one by one, shaking hands with Kale, their expression satisfied. Whatever they'd agreed to, it was done. When the last one left, Kale looked up and saw her. His expression didn't change. No surprise. No anger. Just assessment. He gestured for her to enter. Valeria touched her collarbone, activated the wire, walked into the room with her heart hammering so hard she was sure he could hear it. Valeria. Kale poured 2 glasses of whiskey. I wondered when you'd show up. You knew I'd come? Of course. You're facing serious charges. Your options are limited. And despite your dramatic exit from my car, you're practical enough to know when you need help." She accepted the whiskey, didn't drink. "I made a mistake. Walking away. Breaking the cooperation agreement. I thought choosing mercy would make me feel better about myself." "And did it?" "No. It just made me vulnerable." She set down the glass. "I need your help, Kale. I need leverage to negotiate with Carmen Vega, something that makes her drop the charges." "Why would I help you? You betrayed me, refused to testify against Adrian, made my entire investment in your vendetta worthless." "Because you're right. About everything. I am the weapon you created, and weapons don't stop being useful just because they hesitate once." Kale studied her. "What are you offering?" "Information. About Adrian. About his remaining assets. About vulnerabilities in his company structure that your investors can exploit." "I already have that information." "Not all of it. There are things only I know, private details from when we were married, weaknesses he's hidden even from his lawyers." "Such as?" Valeria took a breath. This was it. The moment she either got what Reyes needed or exposed herself as a wire. He has offshore accounts, money he's been hiding from the investigation. His lawyers don't know about them because he set them up during our marriage. Joint accounts, technically. But I never touched them. Never even thought about them until now. Kale's expression shifted. Interest. "How much?" 8 million euros. Maybe more. He moved money there during our divorce. Claimed he was protecting assets from the settlement, but really he was creating an escape fund in case everything fell apart. "And you can access these accounts?" "I still have the documentation. Account numbers, passwords, everything. He never changed them because he assumed I didn't know they existed." Kale stood, moved to the window. "If I verify this information, if it's real, then yes, I can help you. I can give you leverage that makes Carmen's case evaporate, but I need something in return." "What?" "When I take over Wolf Industries, I need someone who understands the internal structure. Someone who can identify which divisions are